the Recruiter Podcast. Ernie, let's hear from friends of the program.
Fantastic. And we have some really good friends. Yes. Our first is going to be from Rockstar Conference. They ask, are you frustrated or maybe even a little bit burned out by the noise surrounding so many auto conferences? Mm-hmm. How do you even know how to pick the right one? It's easier than you think. Rockstar Auto Conference is one of the few that actually is delivering new information that really helps dealers rock their market. And dealers and the hottest companies are gravitating to this. If you're really interested in increasing sales and profit in every department, visit rockstarinfo.com to see why people like Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, Ask a Millionaire, and many others are investing their time in Rockstar events. Visit rockstarinfo.com to learn more about an upcoming unconference near you. We also have our friends at Tecobi. That's Tecobi. They ask, wouldn't you love to interact and respond instantly to individuals that are looking at your ad right now? With Tecobi, you can. By using Facebook lead generation ads plus Tecobi software, you are able to interact immediately with the person that's looking at your ad via text message and engage the customer throughout the entire car buying process. With Tecobi, you are able to follow up by text, import other lead sources, and text blast up to 500 customers at a time, all within minutes. Pretty fascinating. Yeah. And then you also have...
Happy birthday, Jason.
Yes.
Well, that's right. Happy
that's
birthday,
right.
Jason.
Jeez,
There you go.
Jason Gerdner, happy birthday, dude.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy
Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jason. Happy birthday to you.
All right.
There you go. He didn't expect that.
That's right. Right. That's gonna show up in your invoice.
There it is. So a great company. That's the second sponsor for us. We also have the folks at Automoto HR. Automoto HR is a complete HR management system for both large and small dealerships, and really all dealerships. It targets and tracks top automotive talent through visiting hundreds of websites, or job boards, including Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor, and Google for Jobs. Automoto HR provides a professional, branded career website and microsites that enhance the candidate's experience as well as shares quality information about the dealership. Automoto HR allows management to schedule, interview, and hire with ease, as well as documents all communication. The platform is EEO and OFCCP compliant, and that provides a full audit of communication, as we talked about. Also, it can be used to provide an effective onboarding and training process. So those are our friends there, and we use the product. So that's something you might want to consider. And then we have our good friends at Dealer World. And their message to us is that when you want to drive more traffic, when you want to have less vendors, and you want to reduce your budget and fees, Dealer World can do it. Better ads with a focus on leads, and more leads, chats, phone calls, and walk-ins. Everything Dealer World does is result-oriented. From better radio and TV to better lead-generating digital and social, Dealer World does it all, and for sometimes half the fees that dealers are currently investing. So visit mydealerworld.com, one of the fastest growing agencies in the country, for a free advertising audit to see if they can help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie.
Nice.
Appreciate the friends of the program
Yes,
very
we
much. Speaking of friends of the program, we have one sitting directly to my left. It is a terrific, he's an AutoMax excellent person. Would you mind introducing our guest?
Yeah, absolutely. Our guest for episode 2 of the Recruiter podcast, was born and raised and currently resides in the great state of Connecticut within the United States of America. He is a New Englander through and through.
Hey, yeah.
After high school and 1 year of college, he entered the United States Air Force, was trained as a linguist to monitor and transcribe audio or radio cockpit communications of Polish military aircraft. And if you recall, at the time, this was before the fall of the Soviet Union, and Poland was considered a satellite state with a communist government friendly to Russia or Moscow. So a lot of what he had done during that time is still, I guess, top secret, you'd say, and classified information. But he promises he's got
Not
some
grassy
stories.
knoll stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But he promises he has some stories he can tell us. So after his time in the Air Force, he went back to college. And in 1984, with no particular plan or goal in place, other than, as he says, drink beer and play a lot of softball, he interviewed for
skirts.
he interviewed.
Great second guess.
Yes.
Beer and softball.
He interviewed for a sales position at a Connecticut Chevrolet dealership. After 2 years in sales, he was offered a position in F&I and continued in finance and sales management for the next 13 years, until which time he was offered an opportunity and a general management role. His experience, his knowledge, his insight within the auto industry is something we're going to be digging into and delve into a lot more. In 2010, excuse me. He's old.
He is old, man.
He is old.
Dude is old.
Yeah, so he left retail sales in 2010 to start the company VetsCars, which is an auto industry association of select auto dealers that are presented and promoted to veterans, military, and first responders demographics. Within 6 years, that was an extremely successful company for Chris, and he decided he was going to sell the business. He had nearly 300 clients, was doing great, and felt that, hey, I can kind of kick back, relax, and enjoy life for a while. Well, as the world turns, he has recently taken back ownership control of VetCars and retooled it with a much more stronger digital marketing value for the clients. He is considered an industry authority on what's called organic marketing, identity cause-based marketing, and he's going to talk to us more about that. He considers himself, I'd say, somewhat of an old school car guy. But yet at the same time embraces the changes that occur constantly in our business and prides himself on being a keen student of the business itself. He has very strong opinions and observations. That's why he's here.
He's a wallflower.
About where the business was, where it is today, and where it might find itself in the future. In his time away from the working world, he is an avid fly fisherman. That's when his wife allows. He likes to golf. But he's also a military historian and a lover of dogs. He says that his dog Petey, his coonhound,
Shout out to
more
Petey.
likely has likely more Facebook followers than he does.
And rightly so.
We're trying to find. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're trying to find a picture. Joanna was trying to find a picture, a pre-production picture of Chris by himself on his Facebook page. Right? We found one picture. It was him and a fish. There was no. Everything was Petey, or there's a bunch of them. Are you and me together, and it's like.
Very cool.
Joanna goes, Chris, could you please take a picture for me?
I was going to bring him today, but he sucks in the car.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to be Dick's. And then I'm thinking,
They could be running around out there.
yeah, Dick's would kill him. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, really, the only other wrap up I'd say that I kind of got a sense for is if he's not doing the things that we're talking about, he's involved in restoring the restoration of the home that he lives in, 200-year-old home in East Haddam, Connecticut.
Yeah.
That's got to take a lot of time and effort too. And
We've never been invited to Chris's home. It looks really cool. Doesn't it look really cool?
yeah,
But we've never been invited to his home. But it looks
We'll do the next podcast
It looks-
in my basement with the ghosts.
really well. If you invited us, we could probably do that. But seeing we haven't been invited to your home, we haven't been able to do that. But it looks like a. It's beautiful. So,
I'll invite you to the Florida home.
all right, so let's get this thing started. Listen, I want to clear something up right now because this has been bothering me. Not really bothering me, but it's a rumor that's been going around. Is it really true that is it really true that you and Nancy Pelosi are seeing each other? Like, I'm going to say socially, but you know what I'm saying.
Can you tell me if Diane is watching this right now?
Yeah, she's not.
She's not?
No, you're good to go.
Yeah, I just think Nancy is smoking.
Smoking hot.
Yeah, especially the way the eyes go around her head.
Right. And you're good with her stance on, like, whatever it is she
Let me
stands
tell
on.
you something. When Speaker Pelosi and I are together,
Right.
politics is the last thing we talk about.
Right. So you're saying it's not plutonic, then it is my real question here, obviously.
No, smoking hot.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. You've heard it here first.
I'm hoping that one of these days I can kill her
Right.
with lovemaking. So
Okay,
she'll
I'm
be
glad
she'll be off of Capitol Hill.
All right, good. There was a comma there after kill me.
Hi, Nance, love you.
Right. Okay, good. See,
Thank God most of the people watching this are going to know this is about as sarcastic as I can get.
yes. Well, you know what's
But I
important.
do like older women. They're grateful.
I'm sure your wife's going to love that one.
Oh, I got a joke there, but I'm not going there.
So it's like people, I get so much advice. When I started researching this thing about a year ago, it was like, oh, don't do this. How to do the perfect podcast, if you Google that, it's like, there's like a billion entries, like no exaggeration. So unless you're a strictly political show, stay away from politics. Right. If you're a strictly a spiritual show, or not a spiritual show, or if you're a political show, stay away from Christianity or any religion or whatever. And it's like I'm sitting there thinking, oh, screw that, man. We're just going to talk about really whatever we want to talk about. Because as well as you and I know each other, quote unquote, there's like selfishly, the three of us want to know more about you. We certainly want to know more about VetsCars for a number of reasons. If you qualify as a dealer in the United States, and you should, speaking of that, you should be a sponsor on here too. So
Nobody asked me. I would have.
we didn't ask you?
No, you didn't.
You don't read your emails.
Yeah. He was asked. He's just cheap.
We asked everybody.
Or your text.
I was asking Tony Lukes. Are you kidding me? We asked everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Speaking of which, Chris got a sandwich, everybody. If
Right.
you saw
Yes, I
the
did.
first session, Chris
Right.
just couldn't wait to eat his sandwich, so he ate it out there.
I did.
And it was a Tony Luke's cheesesteak
Tony
with
Luke.
whiz with mushrooms and onions. And
And pepper.
And he
How
loved
was it good?
It was.
it's exactly what he
heavenly.
wanted, and a pack of gummy bears.
And my gummy bears.
Let's. What's with the gummy bears? Whoa! All right.
That right
Did
there.
the camera get
I like
that?
the way the
I was gonna
berry
say, they're-
one flies
they're
into
better.
my mouth.
Let me see that knife. What? Oh, man.
That right there should be the promo for the entire podcast.
That's pretty awesome.
Chris whipping out his knife and
Oh, it's the only
chopping
thing.
open the gummy
It might not
bears.
be the only thing I whip out in the next 2 hours.
Oh. Home front. Is this? What do you use this for? What is this specific?
It's
Cutting
what's
open
called
packs
an
of gummy bears.
EDC. It's an everyday
Here,
carry.
put that away.
My father taught me that all gentlemen should
Carry a knife. Why?
because I'm a lousy fighter. You never know when you need a good knife.
All right. So here,
I got one in the car.
do you
No.
really?
Yeah, down on the little side dash.
No kidding.
What good is it going to do you in the car?
I think we're good in here.
Okay.
I feel okay in here. This is a safe place.
Right.
All
well,
systems,
that's not
all
for
systems go
protection.
AV, by the way. We're here at All Systems Go AV.
All systems go. AV.
And by the way,
Awesome people.
But you have to
I
check
made
that.
it. I made it to the second episode without having a beer. So
Yeah, he takes the last one.
they gave. I was offered.
Thank
You
God I
you
was
wanna
drinking.
share it with me?
No, I drink root beer nips all the way down.
We can
to
share
Jersey
it.
Pike.
Nice.
So this was given to me by the.
You think
What
I'd
is,
come
what
on
is
this
that? I've
sober?
never seen
This
that.
is Tangerine Space Machine IPA, and Ernie Kasperwitz guessed the alcohol content. I want everyone to know that.
That is a skill set to be
7%.
envied.
6.8%.
So there's a guy by the name of Jason Harris. I did his podcast about a month ago. He's from Canada. He's friends with Everald and Anthony, and he's coming down.
try it. You
He
wanna
is
try
like he makes, I don't know. He's got like 10 different, what it's called, IP, what
IPA.
are they called?
IPAs.
IPAs.
Not to be confused with IPO.
Right. I don't.
Watch
Whoa, hot mic.
I don't drink anymore, so that stuff's a little out of.
I don't drink any less either.
You're-
We need a recorded drum roll for you. We blew it.
yeah.
But
All right. So, VetsCars.
VetsCars.
So this was you and your brother. Your
You gonna make me want to cry again?
yep. Your brother who passed. How long ago did your brother pass?
End of 2014.
Right. This was his dream, your dream, collective dream.
My dream.
Okay.
He was retired. I dragged him out.
Right. And he, how did he serve, or where did he serve?
didn't. He
oh,
didn't.
he did not.
No, he had a spinal injury, and he had in '68. I think his lottery number was like 13.
Oh.
He was going, and he was going to be in the Central Highlands, and he was a gymnast, and he had a bad spinal injury in high school, and it kept him out of the. Got him a 4F, which he regretted his entire life, even though he knew that he probably, right after Quezon, he would have been in the thick of things. He didn't wait for the draft. He actually went to the Marine Corps recruiting depot in New Haven and enlisted, and they gave him the bad news that his spine was not.
Before he went to basic and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Right.
so he was actually fortunate.
Yeah. This is a weird segue, but what year was it? Would you say 68?
68, yeah.
Wait, when did they start the lottery? I thought it was.
68 was when they started the lottery.
Okay. So we're 2 years into the lottery. I graduated from high school. That is the summer of 1970. We were fine. We were heavenly. We're the class of 1970.
Mm-hmm.
So
Did you pay an ad agency? Did you pay Troy to come up with that one?
right. No. So I go to Ohio University, try to walk on and play football.
Right.
That was a joke. So I quit immediately. Tackling dummy. It was horrible. So and I made a conscious decision not to go to class. I just went to Ohio University to party. Period. That's all I did.
that's pretty much why anyone goes to OU if it makes you feel any better.
That's true. It was nuts.
It hasn't changed.
It was. Is it the same?
I mean, I'm old now. When I was in school, I mean, you just, we're going to go get drunk for a week in Athens.
Go to Athens, right? Meigs County. So, draft lottery party, right? My birthday's October 28th. So everyone's got their birth date and a place card around their neck.
Mm-hmm.
There's, I don't know, 75 people there. We're all stoned, we're all drunk. It's a party, right? Now there's thousands of kids getting killed, millions of North Vietnamese and what have you, Cambodians, Laos, the whole shoot match, because we were in Cambodia and Laos at the time, I believe, unbeknownst to anyone.
Unbeknownst, yeah.
Because I had two cousins come back and, in bags from Laos,
Yeesh.
which they didn't find out until later. Your grandpa's brother's sons were both killed in Laos during that time. So we're having this big party, and they're announcing the numbers. My birthday's October 28th. It's the 28th number picked.
Whoa.
First person in the room at the party. It's like everybody looks at me like, like the music stopped. It was like the party was over. It was like, oh, crap, I'm going to Vietnam, man. And it's like, back then, it was like my hair was down to here. I was peace, love, like
Seen the pictures.
different person. It's like
Barry Gibb.
yeah, right? Barry Gibb. My heart in Massachusetts, and Massachusetts.
That's not bad.
It's not.
So I can do that.
You can do this
Think how good
voice,
that's going to
too.
sound when he
I got
goes
them
through
all, man.
puberty.
He's been called Barry Gibbs before. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's happened before. So, God, this story this can go on for a while. So I come back and get a letter to go take my physical.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to downtown Cleveland, take my physical, which, you understand. Did you ever have to do that? All right. So, they put headphones on you, and then they beep in each ear to check your hearing, and you have things you hold, and if it's a beep in the right ear, you hit this one. Now I'm just sitting there going like this, screwing off, right? Eye chart. I'm like this. No, I can't see that, right? just trying to screw everything up like everybody else, basically, that was there, except for the guys that actually enlisted. And so then at the end, do you want to sit down and talk to anybody? Words to that effect. So some officer, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's your story? Dude, I smoke weed like all the time. Like, you can't put a gun in my hand. I mean, I smoke weed constantly. Said, there's the best weed in the world in Vietnam. You're in the right place. I'm like, shit. Really? So,
Plan B.
right. So, me and my best friend, Lenny Grill, now deceased at the time, I grew up with him. We go to a Steppenwolf concert in Cleveland, Ohio at Public Hall, which is, at the time was, I don't know, half a mile from what they call the Shoreway in Cleveland, route, what is that, 90, I think, that goes along the lake?
The Turnpike?
No, above that.
Oh.
Like,
I don't know.
Yeah. So.
Isn't that where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is now?
Yes, sort of. Yes. Basically, yes. So, we got, we're at a Steppenwolf concert, so we're like, I don't know what I was on. It was crazy. But it was like at that point, well, I'm going to Canada. And Lenny goes, okay, well, let's go. I'm like, I said, how much money do you have? He says, $11. What do you have? I said, I have a check that's no good. So we got on the Shoreway and started hitchhiking. A guy by the name of Blackie picked us up. He was a truck driver. And he had a big bag of Black Beauties and a case of Budweiser in the truck, and he took us all the way to Lake George, New York, where we set up a pup tent in a rainstorm that a church gave us. And the next day we walked into Canada.
Whoa.
And somewhere between then and 13 months later, I had hitchhiked from, he went home, and I continued south because he couldn't pass his physical. He had a bad knee or something. So then I hitchhiked for 13 months. I back up with the family. I resurfaced at Cook's Forest Labor Day the following year. Cook's Forest was a family reunion type thing that we used to go to as a family years and years and years ago. And unbeknownst to me, my mother had written the president a couple of letters, handwritten letters, of, his cousins were both killed, la 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 la, on and on and on. And a year later, this letter comes in that I don't know what the classification was. No longer needed, wanted but my lottery number was 28. I mean, they were like, they were going into the hundreds, I think, in those numbers, weren't they? Or
oh yeah,
right. I mean, it's like
4. I think they got. So she was writing Richard Nixon.
Yeah, literally. So years later,
Thank you, Mrs. Lockwood, for your
nice.
We won't be using your son, Craig, in this police action.
That was awesome. So evidently,
I was lying about Nancy Pelosi, by the way.
so I'm guessing the only thing we can figure
Fantasize.
out, somebody probably actually pulled a file, an actual paper file, and lost me. Is about the only thing we can figure out, right?
Probably.
That's the only thing that could have possibly happened. Just dumb. I don't know if it's luck or not, but weird, right? Weird story.
Left a lot of guys over there, 58,612.
A bunch.
Not to mention the ones that are still wandering around in their heads.
Yeah. That's a real problem, isn't it? Even to this day, the way that our soldiers come back.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, depending on the intensity of the situation that they found themselves in, or even though trained for, prepared, there's no way to prepare for real war.
Yeah.
In terms of recruiting, you and I have talked about this a lot. Every state's different, but if you're looking to hire veterans, let's just say veterans, we won't go to law enforcement and so forth, but there's probably even, there could be tax credits there that I'm not even aware of, but with car dealers get pretty significant. We had this conversation before. Pretty significant tax credits and so forth. And we do a nice job as a company, I think, in recruiting veterans for dealerships, right? I mean,
Sure.
it seems like it to me.
And to be honest, we don't even have to try it. They kind of sell themselves. We don't really have to
Yes.
try that hard, and we'll steer the SEO and the ads toward that, and we make sure it's mentioned in the ad, mention our letters.
Right.
But I'd say more than that, the percentage of people that are hired, or the percentage of times that a vet is hired within a store, is very high.
Yes.
You know, they're just tuned in. You know, they've served a greater cause. They're disciplined. You know, they follow a process. They know how to show
Work
up on
ethic.
time, work hard.
Right.
I mean, it's
Chain of
it's
command.
just- right.
Right. Plus, they're also taught not only how to follow orders, but also how to lead, right? They lead by
lead.
following,
Sure.
Yeah.
right? And so ultimately,
Well,
I mean, that's a damn
they
good.
can understand a set of instructions, and if they're in management or any position above other guys and gals,
little
they
closer
can-
mic. There you go.
they can communicate those instructions
Near that-
properly
yeah, that
and know
Right.
and communicate what their expectations are.
Right.
To get go ahead.
Right. Well, on the flip side of that, the problem is some of these guys come back, men and women, come back pretty damaged,
Yeah, they do.
right? So,
And this isn't to minimize it at all. Don't get me wrong. It's been a problem for 100 years.
Right.
In World War I, they called it shell shock.
right.
World War II, battle fatigue, the 1,000-yard stare. It was tamped down. Any type of psychological issues, whether it was service-related or just in our personal lives, we weren't as open and accepting of them. So, guys came back from World War II seeing some just monstrous atrocities,
Yeah.
and they went to work. They married the girl that they'd been pen pals with while they were in the South Pacific. They went to Pratt & Whitney, and they had 4 kids. I remember as late as 1975, my father screaming in the middle of the night. 1975. Nightmares.
Was he, let's see, your dad, he would have been World War II.
He was
then,
World War
right?
II.
Right. Tell us about your dad.
Just a great guy. He, on December 8th, right after Pearl Harbor, just like a couple 100,000 other guys his age, enlisted. He enlisted in the Marine Corps.
The day after Pearl Harbor.
Day after Pearl Harbor. The lines were out the doors at the recruiting centers. We were one nation.
Yeah.
And we had been attacked. So we felt we had God on our side. After basic training at Parris Island, he was deployed to the South Pacific, spent the next 39 months, 5 combat landings, including Guadalcanal and Peleliu. He missed Mount Suribachi. He was on a sheep station in New Zealand recovering from malaria. When he went into the Marine Corps, he was 198 pounds. I still have his intake paperwork. He was 86 pounds with malaria.
Whoa.
Yeah. Came back.
What year is this, approximately?
He came back in 45.
Okay.
Got dropped off at the top of Main Street in Middletown with a sea bag, walked to the end. My grandfather was the adjutant at the Rocky Hill Veterans Home. They lived on South Main Street in Middletown. He walked in. His mother fell to the ground. Never thought she'd see her son anymore. We didn't have cell phones. And I don't know if you've ever seen a letter from a soldier or Marine in World War II. They had to go through, they were called Victory Mail, V-Mail. They had to go through redactions, had to go through the censors. So nobody knew where anybody was.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
When my father landed on Guadalcanal with elements of the 1st Marine Division on August 7th, there was no resistance at the beach. It came about 200 yards in. The Japanese were waiting for them with their .30 caliber Brownings and just tore them to shreds. But the first wave of Marines that went in, they're looking around. Of course, they knew what combat landings could entail.
Yeah.
So they're all like, "Holy shit! Where's the Japs?" And here comes a LST landing craft with General Vandergrift, who was the commander of the Marine forces on Guadalcanal. And he looks around. And he says, "Which was the first duck boat that landed here?" They call them duck boats.
Right.
And this one, General. All right, I want you guys all to get in, go out, and come back in. And he had all the photographers and all the reporters.
No way.
And they go out, they come back in. The old man steps off with his Garand M1 in his hand. And that picture made the cover of Saturday Evening Post.
No way.
And it was the only way my grandfather and grandmother got a copy of that, like everybody did, Saturday night.
Right.
And now this was November of 43, excuse me. So the landing happened in August. So it took like 3 months.
Oh.
And my grandfather turned to my grandmother and said, I believe that's Sonny. He wrote the Saturday Evening Post offices in New York and said, I believe my son is on the cover of your magazine. They sent him an 8x10 black and white, and with a magnifying glass, they identified Sonny.
Whoa.
And that's the only way they knew where he was for over 3 years.
Oh, that's what a great story.
So
man.
he went to Dartmouth. Back then, they called it the G12 program. It was the forerunner of the GI Bill.
Right.
So you could come back from combat, from any, even non-combat service, and go to a college of your choice. He chose Dartmouth, and married my mother, had my brother up there, and then Korean conflict came about in 1950, and he was called back into service.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, and he was a drill instructor at Parris Island, hand-to-hand combat instructor for the Officers Candidate School at Quantico. He was a tough son of a bitch.
badass.
Oh, man, when I was, just before I went in the service, I, about 165 pounds. Fighting and fornicating was all I was doing. I took him on, and he's late 60s at that time.
Yeah.
You've heard of two-punch fights.
Right.
Or two-hit fights.
Right. You been hitting the ground.
Actually, he dislocated my shoulder as he shoved me up against the refrigerator.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah, he was racked with lung cancer. He was still a tough guy in the 90s. But to get back to PTSD,
Yeah.
it's very accepting now. It's very accepted, I should say. And that's good. It should be.
Right. Accepted by whom and in what way, are you saying?
Well, the VA, and I know what I'm going to say could be misconstrued. It's not meant to be critical of the VA. It's not meant to be critical of this paradigm within which we find ourselves. But did you see combat? Yes. Well, then you obviously are having nightmares. Well, no, I'm not. Are you sure? It's almost like they're drawing it out of kids. And, and a lot of guys in Vietnam, their souls are still wandering around the Central Highlands. Some kids saw some terrible, terrible things in Iraq, Afghanistan. But in World War II, we won. There was victory in Europe Day. There was victory in the Pacific Day.
Signed off on.
You could justify, and also there was a racial disparity. There's a racial difference between us and the Japanese. Not necessarily the Germans, but public relations really made the Hun out to be less than human.
Right.
So guys justified the atrocities that they saw. And because as a country we were so behind the war effort that a lot of those really bad memories got tamped down. They say the only heroes are the guys that are left behind. And a lot of the guys that came back from all wars never talk about it. They never talk about it at all. And what was really cool is, it's not cool, but in 1998, my father had a stroke. And he was diagnosed with inoperable lung cancer. And this just shattered him. He was 77 years old at the time. Still spry, up on the roof cleaning the gutters. My mother screaming, "Get the hell down!" And he just sat on the deck waiting to die. He was just demoralized. And one of his good friends was another Marine who you may have heard of, William Manchester. He's the author. He was a Wesleyan professor, lived in Middletown, and they had stayed in touch throughout the years. And Manchester had written a book about the Marine Corps on Guadalcanal, and of course, it highlighted John Basilone, Medal of Honor recipient. So he comes over to visit my father, and again, the old man's a shell of just on the porch, doing crosswords. And Manchester sits down with him. He says, "Hey Frank, I'm thinking about writing another book about the Marines in the South Pacific. I'd sure like to get your recollections." Now he never talked about it all his life. Just never talked about it. It was compartmentalized, left it, moved on, raised kids, scoutmaster.
Most of those guys did that, right?
So he filled up 3 yellow legal pads. And now he used to have, of course, that entire generation had wonderful, almost calligraphic penmanship.
Yeah.
He had the most beautiful penmanship. But now with a stroke, it's like shaky.
Right.
And I still have them, and they're my most treasured possessions. And he talks about, how lonely he was there, and the rain, and making a joke about the only protein they get is the maggots that are in the rice that they took off of dead Japanese bodies.
Jeez.
And it was a ruse. Manchester had no book in the works.
Oh.
But this was an old Marine lying to another Marine to make him feel good. And it energized my father for the next 3 months. And he filled up these 3 legal pads. And someday I'd like to have them printed.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
right?
Probably will.
Jesus, we know enough people to publish books.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a must.
Yeah.
That's not a should. That's a must, man.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. Thanks for my dad. My dad was in the Navy. Got in at the tail end of the war. He saw the bomb. He was on a boat and saw the one that hit Nagasaki.
Okay.
Was Nagasaki second?
Yeah. Hiroshima.
Right. And I always get this screwed up because one of these ships is famous and one is not. It was either the Wood or the Hood. One of the two. And one of the two, all the shots of the mushroom came from one of those 2 ships. He was not on that ship.
Okay.
He was on the other one. But he got in near the.
They didn't even tell those guys to shade their eyes.
Yeah, probably not. And they were close, man. So what did I miss it? What did your dad end up doing for a living?
He worked at Pratt & Whitney for many years. Then he worked for a direct mail company called Advo Systems, and retired early and bothered my mother for the last 15 years of his life.
Yeah.
Chris, could I circle back on something real quick? Because you said something that is really interesting to me. I want to make sure I got it 100% right. So you're saying that basically soldiers that fought in wars that were more celebrated and were more thought of as a clear-cut victory tend to have, I don't want to say better memories, known as good memories of war. They suppress their memories more, or they find a way to I don't want to say rationalize it, but to celebrate it more in their minds. So
I think it was
much.
easier for them to rationalize.
Okay.
I've got some very, very dear friends who were Vietnam combat Marines. And, the stories about getting spit on coming back through the San Francisco airport, they say that those aren't true, but I have a good friend that did, when he came back, suffer some real harassment. And it wasn't their fault. They weren't baby killers, okay? Right. They were told to do a job by a very piss-poor high command and Washington, D.C. We weren't allowed to win that war.
Right.
Why, 50 years later, do Vietnam vets still say to each other, welcome home? Because it wasn't said to them when they came home, and it should have been. We've become so politically divided in the last generation, and there's always going to be folks that are against using violence anywhere in the world, and that's fine. They have a point. But it was really difficult when we were attacked, Pearl Harbor. If we never got attacked in Pearl Harbor and we just, after remaining neutral for many, many, many years after the annexation of Poland, many people in this country were denying that the Holocaust was existing.
Right.
We may have never gotten into that war, but if there was so much resistance to getting into the European theater that it probably would have had a more negative effect on those guys. We probably wouldn't have thrown the full weight of the United States behind our effort if it was limited to Europe and we hadn't been attacked by the Japanese Empire. So, did they come back and celebrate? No, but they came back and got back on with their lives. They said, I was called, I served, I did my duty.
Gotcha. How do you feel that plays out in the 21st century, where things are outside of the Gulf War, a lot more gray. I mean, it's not real declared war, or there isn't a Pearl Harbor, to say, absent of 9/11. There's not a whole lot of cause and effect. Do you feel that plays into the way modern day vets are received or treated, or their potential for PTSD or any emotional and mental problems when they come back as well?
That's a great question. There's not been a declared war since World War II. Is that correct? Or the Korean conflict?
Korean conflict.
But there's not been a declared, right? Through Congress, right? It's not been declared. That's a great question, though.
You know what you hear more and more from post 9/11 vets, OIF, OEF kids is, I love my country. I was called, but I was there for the guy on my left and the guy on my right.
Right.
And so much has been written. Christ, I remember the first time I saw Bush lied, soldiers died bumper sticker. It's like, we got to get behind this and get out of it. We've had troops deployed to Afghanistan now for 17 years.
Right.
Yeah, that's
It's
crazy.
nuts. Rules of engagement have killed probably just as many kids as the Taliban did. We're taking fire. Oh, you got to call Langley. You got to talk to a JAG officer and get permission to return fire. I got 5 guys down and bleeding. I know, but that's standard those are ROE. It's nuts. One of my best friends, you met Brad Brereton.
Yeah.
He was involved in a firefight like that, and he lost his first sergeant because of hesitation. We have officers and senior non-coms in Fort Knox and Leavenworth right now awaiting trial for war crimes because they acted without the
proper chain.
the proper approval from Virginia. Wow. It's nuts.
Wow.
How do you make that split decision when you just watched your brother go down with a sucking chest wound and you got 5 guys in hijabs coming across the hill at you? Hold on, guys. I got to call someone.
Got to do what you were trained to do, I would assume.
Yeah.
Right?
Chris, I was going to ask, you were talking about the PSD, and so now it's acceptable to talk about it, so it's being more talked about. It's more present.
Mm-hmm.
Does that affect someone's ability to gain employment because that might be in their background? And I mean,
I think it's a way overblown stigma. Yeah, because it's something that we talk about.
right?
A veteran, young guy goes to apply for a job. There is this attitude that young veterans have no credit. They come from broken families. They're not educable. And, if they were in combat, they're probably going to have a meltdown. And that is so freaking unfair.
Right.
Luckily, that is not a pervasive attitude, but it's out there.
It is.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
By dealers? By dealers, you think? Or hiring managers?
I don't think a dealer is probably never going to look you in the eye and tell you that.
Yeah.
But if I have employees that there's one scintilla, one iota, 1/100,000th of a chance that he is going to misbehave in in front of a customer,
Right.
I'm probably going to think twice about hiring.
Right. If there's other options out there, all
That's
things
what
I was-
being equal, you're not going to take the chance.
Right. So as a manager, if you're thinking that, you won't say it. It's not in your conscious mind. It's
Correct.
in your subconscious mind, and you're just not going to make the hire.
Which is, again, the reason, or at least to me, the reason that any symptoms of PTSD manifest themselves
Right.
comes from frustration, comes from lack of opportunity. When a kid is feeling hopeless, it breaks my heart. The number that's thrown around commonly is 22 post 9/11 vets a day eat a bullet, commit suicide.
Right. Yeah.
That number is probably a little lower than that, but any more than one
Right.
is unacceptable.
Yeah. One's too many.
So, just to make a blanket assessment that okay, this guy was in the mud and the blood downrange, and we don't know what he's going to do on my showroom floor. That's sad. That's
Right.
That's fighting words as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
And there are opportunities available to the guys and gals that served OIF, OEF, but here we're all in the car business. You guys are in the recruitment business. As you said, it's it's a phenomenal job for someone who has been trained to think on their feet, to take direction, to understand the mission from A to Z. And it's a way for I was having this conversation with a couple of women in automotive on Facebook. There's 1.4 million female veterans in this country. And, I mean, let's face it, the playing field's not level for men and women.
Absolutely.
Anywhere.
Any industry, right?
But mostly in our business.
Right.
I mean, look at the girls and women that have been successful in our business. I mean, they got balls like cantaloupes.
Absolutely.
They don't let little slights and innuendo and insults affect them. They're one of the boys.
Right.
I'm here to sell cars. I'm here to work. I'm here to do my job.
Yep.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Right.
And you guys know some dealers will say to you, I don't want to interview any women. I don't need a lawsuit.
0 women.
That's right. She's too hot.
So what happens when a girl who may have achieved E4, E5 status, lower non-commissioned officer, she comes back, what are her prospects? Put an orange apron on, go to work at Home Depot, go to work at the cosmetic counter at Nordstrom's, get a job as a secretary, go to school for data entry. I don't know of too many women in this business that are doing 5-6 cars a month and doing and surviving.
Right.
If they commit to this business, most of the ones we know are animals.
Right.
And for so many of these young girls and women that came back from their service
Right.
and have it in their head, and how many times have you heard it? You'll interview a woman, and she goes home and talks to her husband, boyfriend, mother, father. What do you want to sell cars for?
Right.
That's a man's
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
It's undependable. You might make money one month, you won't make any money the next.
Yep.
So they get talked out of something that they could probably excel at
Yep.
if allowed to. And sometimes the biggest perpetrators of the prejudices are those that are near and dearest to us.
Yeah, no question about it. That's almost a line out of our training. The people that love us and care for us the most sometimes stop us, hold us back from taking opportunities not because they don't love us, it's because they care about us and so on and so forth. But that's what you're talking about. But that is a real double jeopardy. You're a female, former military, coming back, trying to get into the car business.
Well,
That's a
being in the military, she's already probably had to suffer the slings and arrows of discrimination.
Oh, well, yeah, that's
Thick
true.
skin at that point.
So they got a
Right,
thick
yeah.
skin at that point.
Right.
They know how to deal with dickhead coworkers.
right.
For 6 years, I ran a Chevy store with the same 9 guys. Well, 1 or 2 rotated, but I always had 9 guys.
Right.
And they were all white males.
Right.
I look back at that now and I think, man, I couldn't do that today.
Right.
We hired a female once, and it was a bad hire. It was just as much my fault for not seeing what I probably should have seen. Nothing bad happened. There was no lawsuits. There was no complaints, against any of her coworkers. But she didn't want to cut the mustard. I think she
Right.
could have.
Right.
But where the fuck was I going with this?
Right. So you had the same 9 people. You hired her.
Yeah, I
She
mean-
didn't work out.
Yeah, I was lucky because, and it's funny, and again, I don't want to get political, but, back in 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7, we were a lot more colorblind than we are now. If I had a Hispanic kid or a black kid come in and I thought he could fill one of the chairs for one of the guys that were doing 15 cars a month for me,
Yeah.
he's going to get that chair. I don't care if he's green at that point.
Yeah. Well, we're on board with that one, man. It don't matter. It shouldn't matter.
And I like what you're saying about PTSD. I've never really heard it put that way. And obviously, you as a vet yourself and having so much experience with military life.
I never heard a shot fired in anger, except once
No, but
in
I
a
understand.
migrant farm worker bar in Salinas, California. In California, back when I was in language school, drinking age was 21.
Right.
And we were all 18, 19. We couldn't get a drink. Now, I just left Connecticut where the drinking age was 18. I was already a functioning alcoholic.
Right.
So there was only like 3 or 4
That's not
bars
funny. What am I
on
laughing about?
the entire Monterey Peninsula that would serve us. And of course, now this is the late 70s where guys had hair down to here, mullets,
Yeah.
and we're all clean cut. So you could spot a serviceman a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
our haircuts today. You
Sure.
can't tell. So there was this gay bar down on Cannery Row, Bull and Bear, and none of us liked to go in there. So we used to go to this migrant bar up in Salinas, and we got in the middle of a firefight one night. We weren't supposed to be there. First sergeant,
think?
this bar was off duty. We're going to talk about soldier traps later. Whenever you go to a school or your first duty station, your first sergeant, sergeant major, technical sergeant, somebody is going to tell you where not to go. And those categories are usually bars, jewelry stores, furniture stores, payday loan centers, and, drum roll,
Right, migrant bars.
can anybody guess?
Car dealers.
Car dealers.
Oh.
These are the 5 places that young guys and gals can get in the most trouble. Especially you got...
That is stated verbally to service.
Oh, no, you'll never find it anywhere in writing.
But it would be verbally stated. You'd be told.
Unless a dealership or a business has an official complaint sworn out against it, and there have been. The Navy blackballed a couple of dealerships up in my neighborhood
Really?
in the New London Groton area for taking advantage of sailors. So, yeah, you can get an Article 15 if you're caught in these businesses that you have been told under no uncertain terms to stay out of.
Well, anyway, let me circle back.
Okay, sorry.
Because regardless, military life is a big part of your life, and you're speaking from a point of authority somewhat.
Okay.
So it's interesting to hear you say that PTSD. You don't want to use the term overblown because it belittles it to the people that are suffering or do have
Right.
struggles or challenges. But I see it myself because I'm kind of the age, right at that age where I have friends who have served and have seen combat and are now coming back and have to make lives for themselves. What I see is, the ones that probably were going to be successful or were headed in that direction or wired for success, whatever you want to call it, before they went, they come back and they're successful regardless if they saw the same combat, had the same experiences of the ones that come back and maybe do struggle a little bit. So I think you might be right in that, it's real and there should be attention paid to it and people should certainly get the help and the assistance they need with it. But to handicap someone when they go in for any job interview as you served, you have PTSD, you're not hireable, or you're not as hireable as that person, I think is dead on. And I think it ties into what you were just saying as far as being colorblind, gender blind. Lisa Copeland talked about this at our conference where the woman in automotive movement is nice and stuff, but it'd be nice if we didn't even have to talk about
Correct.
that.
Yes.
I mean, it's just kind of like, who cares?
Right.
You know what I mean? And again, it's the same thing. Yes, vets are marketable for certain reasons, but it'd be nice if they could just be judged on, this person comes in for any, let's wipe out the resume. Let's wipe out that they fought or served or whatever their military history
that's
is.
unfortunate.
Just let them
Right.
interview from square one and see what kind of person this is,
Yeah.
Just take that out of
I've
the
actually
equation.
had kids say to me, I don't want to put that I
Don't want to put it on
served,
there.
but I don't know how to fill in a 4-year
sure.
gap in my
Yeah.
employment.
Well, that's the reason it's what do we talk about on how to interview people, right? A scripted word-for-word interview. So we don't fall into that trap of what you're just talking about, son. Everybody gets an identical interview. So we can differentiate based on how they interview rather than not. Anybody I don't know this. Anybody from your family, did they serve? I forget.
My uncle served in World War II, and he was, as you described, didn't talk about it until his truly final days. We drug it out of him to get some sense of what he experienced.
They did their duty.
Yeah. My father was in the Korean conflict, actually over in Germany. I didn't have any combat or anything like that. So those two,
Yeah.
And then my wife's father was in the Navy. Didn't fight per se, but served in the military. One thing I was going to say is the dealership that I worked at when I first broke into the business was near Fort Dix in McGuire, in Mount Holly. So we were constantly selling to military of all kind. And we weren't blacklisted, but you could tell they had some forewarning of how aggressive we were. We were a very aggressive dealership back then. But, we didn't, I don't know, people got what they wanted, but it was just kind of interesting what you talk about.
It was prevalent everywhere, Ernie. I when I ran Chapman down here, it was right by the Air Force Base, and it's like, it was almost a process. You get a military kid in there, get him a cosigner, we're going to whack him.
Yeah.
right? And changes
And-
kids' life
And
badly for a long
here's
time.
what that one car deal, that $3,000 gross, could possibly do.
Right.
I don't know how security clearances are broken down now. I had to go through a 7-level security clearance for my particular skill set. Everybody in the service has some level of a security clearance. If a E4 walks into a dealership, he's got a 550 bureau score, a couple $1,000 in his pocket.
Yeah. That's trouble.
His wife is sitting there. She's in her second trimester. They got another little porch monkey running around playing in the bounce house. Another little rug rat. Another one on the way.
Yep.
90% of this kid's monthly earnings are already gone. Okay, and he tells the salesman, "I got to be 300 or under."
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And customer desires 300 a month right on the purchase order. How many
Right.
times we've seen that goes into
Green
F&I.
pen.
He gets bought. There's no line 5.
Right.
The F&I manager walks him at $495. The woman is, "Honey, we can't afford this." Well, his ego kicks in. We'll figure out a way.
Yep.
When that kid's bills start backing up,
Right.
and he can't afford to pay his bills, and if he gets a repo,
Yep.
he loses his security clearance, or it's downgraded. Once that happens, he loses his MOS. He could lose a stripe. He could face reduction in rank.
Oh, no,
I
wait,
didn't
wait,
even
wait.
know that.
No, maybe what MOS? What's that?
Motor service, method of service. It's your job in the service.
So, okay. So he walks into a dealership. Dealership takes advantage of them in one way or another. Or he just screws up like some people do.
Or he
and
just
makes a
screws
bad
up,
decision.
right, yeah.
However, the consequences of a former military
Yeah.
far exceed
Oh, yeah.
the three of us rather than you or
It's
someone former.
somewhat draconian, but it makes sense.
So they lose their security clearance, which could affect them,
their job,
their job.
their income, their ability to be promoted in the future. If it's bad enough, he can face a discharge for other than honorable, or a general discharge
shit, I
that
did
follows him
not
for his
know that.
entire life. So he's sitting there with the F&I manager who says, "The bank says you can afford this.
Right,
Okay?
right,
And if
right.
you don't take this loan as I've printed it,
Right.
we're going to get a hold of your company commander and tell him that there's a soldier out in the community wasting a businessman's time. Is that what you want, specialist?" Yeah, this shit goes on. And there's a dark place in hell, as far as I'm concerned, for dealerships that do that.
You bet.
But the thinking behind this is, if a kid gets really way behind in his bills, a foreign entity could compromise this individual.
Well,
What's the chance of that happening? Probably minimal, but
Yeah.
could it happen?
Yeah.
You got a kid that's a nuclear tech,
right.
and we'll take care of all your bills for
Yeah.
you.
Just sitting here like normal guys is like, that seems like a stretch, but in the real world,
It could happen.
that's probably not that far of a stretch.
Yep.
That's pretty.
this
That's
is-
really crazy. So, the opposite of that is a dealer taking a stance to, gosh, I mean, as a business owner, as a business person, we want to treat everybody 5-star. We want to exceed expectations. We want to under-promise, over-deliver for all of our customers, right? It's, you do as a business owner, we do as business owners. So, in so-called cause marketing, and that's what VetsCars is, basically, right? I mean, a part of it. So why should a dealer take the patriotism out of it, if we can?
Yep.
I don't even know if that's possible. I don't know that that's possible.
It's not, but for our purposes, I know where you're going.
Right? So why should a dealer bend over backwards? These are just cliches. Bend over backwards, try to make the veteran, his or her family, law enforcement, first responders, without a pitch? Why should we, other than the patriotism, why should we go in that direction?
Well, when we bring it right down to the efficiency and the common sense of the marketing mission of this, it's ever since the term cause-based or identity-based marketing was coined, we have seen that businesses that commit to something, that let their prospective clients and customers know what type of business they are, what they stand for, what their values are, they are creating an opportunity for that customer to see that business in a different light than just price and selection.
Right.
100% of most all of auto dealers' ad budgets, as Troy was saying, speaks to, and as I was listening before, the Foursquare. The Five Square. Jesus, I haven't even had any beer yet. What can I buy the vehicle for? What are you
Right.
going to give me for my trade?
Right.
How much is it going to cost me? Can I get approved, which those
Right.
are lumped together?
Right.
And how much is it going to cost me out of my pocket? There's your Foursquare right there.
Yep.
100% of most advertising is geared towards that. Maybe 90. And the other 10 is, hey, we're good guys. Okay?
Yeah.
But if done properly, and my good friend Kyle Reyes at Silent Partner Marketing always used to use the comparison. If Craig Lockard puts on his Facebook page, I'm Craig Lockard. I'm intelligent, funny, and sexy as hell. Most people are going to roll their eyes. You know, what's up with Craig? You know, self-promoting old son of a bitch. 10% of people say, yeah, you know, I've been around him. He is. He's pretty sexy. He's intelligent. He's got a great sense of humor.
I'm getting 10% here.
But if I or you say, well, not you because you're the product of his loins, you know, that Craig Lockard, he's smart as a whip. He's funny as hell, and he's pretty sexy, too.
There you go.
This is a third-party endorsement.
Right.
I'm telling people about you.
Right.
They're more apt.
Right.
This is why whether it's an organization like VetsCars
Right.
or it's a cause that a dealership or a business commits to standing for,
Right.
it is telling that customer something about that business.
Right.
But here's the interesting thing. Most businesses, and for our purposes, dealers, they do it in a half-assed way. And I remember it was probably 2005. I'm talking to the old man. I worked for an absentee owner. He was either up in Martha's Vineyard or down in Longboat Key. He'd call me twice a week to terrorize me. And
Awesome. I
we're
wish I had
talking.
some of those.
You know, what's going on? What's the advertising looking like? I said, West Hartford Little League wants me to sponsor a team, wants Newman Chevrolet to sponsor a team. I know you've sponsored them in the past. What do you want to do? Now, this is an 80-year-old man. Nutty as a shithouse mouse, but he was my mentor. I loved him to death. Just very eccentric. Had a head like this. Called everybody darling. That was his eccentricity. And he said, "Darling, if you're going to write somebody a check, that's just a waste of money. So you end up in the back of a program or a playbill as a sponsor. You want to really make a splash, you go there. You volunteer to go there. You have some T-shirts printed up. Go to some games with some of the salespeople. Pass out bottles of water that you've had Newman Chevrolet printed on the labels. Make an effort more than just writing a check. So when we sign a new dealer and bring that dealer into the VetsCars fold, we say, you know, you can't be a VetsCars dealer on Monday and forget that you're one until Saturday. This is a commitment that if you are willing to weave it into the culture, into the fabric of your dealership, then you are going to see a response from your customers, veterans and non-veterans alike, because you are being endorsed by a third party. You've made a stand. And we always say, you've heard me say this, don't go overboard with this. You know, we're not singing the battle hymn of the Republic when a veteran takes delivery.
It's my point. Yeah.
Make it a quiet, respectful acknowledgement. You're walking the walk for those who have walked the wall.
Right.
And do it.
Right. So it goes beyond the wall of honor. For those of you that don't know, there's a wall, and and
Extraordinary sacrifice deserves special consideration. Veterans and first responders, please sign your wall of honor.
Right.
And
Which
you've
is
seen pictures of them in dealerships.
right. I think that's a pretty good way to start a relationship at a car dealership with one of those people, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Or they're probably even more important to their family.
Their family.
Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
So so you got that, but you can take that one step further. So that'll qualify you if you have that idea in your mind and that kind of mindset as a business person, as an automotive dealer, which is awesome. But there's steps beyond that. You could still go into the community, right? You could still actually, without writing a check, you could still do more, right?
Absolutely.
That would double down on bless you. That would double down on the commitment that you've made to former military, their family, first responders, and law enforcement.
Do you know how successful the marriage between Toyota and Toys for Tots has been?
I do not.
It's stunning. It was like one of the greatest marketing coups that Toyota ever pulled back in the early 2000s, late 90s, when they partnered with the Marine Corps, and now they have the Toys for Tots pickup truck on the showroom, and they advertise it at Christmas time, bring a new unopened or gently used toy for the.
That's right.
And people that have never bought from that dealership come in. People that are driving Chevrolets will come in
Because
to drop
of
something.
that.
And the really smart Toyota dealers, right about the 10th or the 15th of December, they have the Marine Corps come with their big cube truck, and they come in their dress blues, which are just the most freaking impressive uniform short of the Starship Enterprise that you've ever seen. And they come and they take all these toys and they bring them to their depot. And people actually come and they take pictures of the Marines taking the toys. But it can be anything, to whether it's, and of course, you know, what's near and dear to my heart is veterans and first responders.
Right.
But for a dealership to make a commitment to any type of identity other than, come on down, your job is your credit, $5,000 push puller to, we got the biggest showroom under one roof in the Albany County area. You know, open 7 days a week. Yeah, you and every other swinging dick. Come on, do something.
Right.
You know, when I started in this business just a little after you did, this business was a punchline.
Yeah.
People hated us. It was the Wild West show.
Yeah.
And listen, profit's not a dirty word.
Nope.
But let's treat people in such a way. And shout out to a guy by the name of Johnny Spinato, who's at MJ Sullivan Chevrolet. He said to me once, many, many years ago, you're going to be one of two customers, or salesmen. You're going to sell a car to the guy that walks in, or you're going to sell a car to the guy that walks in, his wife, his sister, his daughter, his brother, his uncle, the guy he works with, the guy he drinks with, and the guy he plays golf with.
Yep.
Those are two distinct type of salespeople. Which one do you want to be?
Right.
So when you define your values and you wear those values right out on your sleeve, or the sleeve of your business, on your website, in your advertising, you're telling people that we stand for something.
Yeah.
And our business needs more of that.
Absolutely. And that's something we were just talking about with Troy earlier, where he feels like the industry has changed and things are better. But, you know, I wanted to mention when he was talking about it, I don't know that people do know it, or enough people know it. You know, I'll
You're
talk
right.
to my friends who are far removed from the industry, and I think people still don't love coming to buy a car. And I think a lot of it is because of what you talked about. And it has nothing to do with getting taken advantage of. It's just, you know, they need something to identify with. They need to know that these are decent people. They're standing for something. And it's not just about, I'm going to go in there and they're going to take my money. So I think it needs to get out there more. And it's kind of that no selfless good deed. If that, not accidentally, but if that leads to helping vets and first responders and law enforcement have a better experience in a car dealership, then, you know, it's an added bonus. Same thing with Toys R Tots. It's genius for Toyota, but at the end of the day, it's a good program too, and it's serving a good cause.
We have to humanize our business.
Right.
You know, I remember all the way back in 1985, my first sales manager, also a Vietnam vet, George Gibbings, about 5'7", still alive. Hey, George, he's a Facebook friend. He's a nurse now.
Hey, George.
He used to wear three-piece suits with highly polished jump boots because he was an Army Ranger. He used to chew gum all the time. He'd bring him a worksheet. What do you got, babe? What do you got, babe? What do you got? Look over his little bifocals. What do you got, babe? I can still hear him nasaling. What do you got, babe?
Love those guys.
He's, you know, I'm getting my first desk, okay? You know, you go through your 3 weeks of watching Sony Betamax, and, you know, I shadowed Peter Morley, who's now a dealer. He was one of the salespeople there. Now you get your desk. Now you're getting business cards. You don't have to use whiteout over some, you know, the guy that died or got canned. You know, you're whiting out his name. Here, folks, here's my temporary card.
Good onboarding.
Yeah. And he goes, "You married?" I said, "No." "You got a girlfriend?" I said, "Yes." "You got a dog?" I said, "I don't have a dog. I got a cat." He says, "On your way home tonight, you know, stop at Kmart." We didn't have Walmarts back then. "Get a couple of frames and put a picture of your girlfriend and your cat and bring it in." And he says, "Stop and get a cheap wedding ring too." "What do you mean a cheap wedding?" "I don't give a shit what it is. It could be just white metal, but you know, people buy from people that are married. They don't like young salesmen, you know, fly by nights. And you know, you can say that your girlfriend is really your wife. You know, it humanizes the whole thing. This was the start of the Why Buy Here books.
Right.
You know, go buy a frame and lie to your customers by saying you're married with a fake wedding ring. But even back then, you know, a generation ago, we were trying, as lamely as that effort was, we were still trying to humanize this business. And to what you and Troy were discussing before, we are so transparent versus truthful. You know, that debate is going to rage as long as the inbound versus outbound marketing debate's going to rage, organic versus lead aggregation. What's truthful? What's transparent? Transparent is your website. Truthful is the experience that person feels when they're pulling out of the lot.
Say that again.
Transparent is your website. It's your
Right.
About Us
Right.
page. It's
Okay.
the Meet the Team page.
Right.
It's you know, I get a kick, and I'm not being critical. I'm not even making an opinion on it. But some dealers have, you know, this is Jose Delgado, and he and his wife Mitzi live 2 towns over, and they got 4 kids, and he likes to play golf. You know, they humanize their website.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm
that's
with
the
you.
transparency.
Okay, good,
Here's
good,
what
good.
you're going to pay. Here's all of our inventory.
Right.
All of our inventory. Right?
And then the truth is,
The truth is, when you get to that dealership, the experience you have,
right,
How's it feel? How are you
how's
treated?
it feel,
Right.
and as you're driving out, you
Right.
know, they did what they said they were going to do.
right,
How often is that executed all the way into the end zone?
right. Well, and I think that speaks to what you brought up earlier, that even, you know, people in and around your age group, I mean, it's prevalent where car dealers still aren't that cool.
Right.
Right. Here's what's interesting. So we started the show with talking about your grandfather, and very specific. There were no. I mean, this story's been told by Chris before, right? This is not the first time he was asked. Not the first time he's told the story, right?
Probably not.
Right, and it'll be passed on for generations, right? Other people will tell other people will tell other people. So, in the car business, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I sell a young girl a car when I'm 22 years old. She comes in. I got her 5 loans. 5 loans: household finance, Sun Finance, Dial Finance, the main bank. She had to put up her couch for 1 loan for $150, her stereo for another $150. All 5 payment books arrived the same day. She comes in crying, "I got to give the car back." And it's like, you know, I go to my boss. He said, "Tell her to hit the bricks." You know, it's like, too bad on her. How many times does she tell that story?
Sure.
How many generations? Right? I mean, it's like the things that we did.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they were illegal. I mean, when I first started, we had phones on our desk. There was a button on the side of the phone. It was hooked up into a intercom box in the manager's office. So when you left the customer, you hit the button, and it turned into wiretapping. We could hear the conversation between John and Mary. So listen, Mary, they're going to come back and they're going to say $700 for our trade, right? The least we're going to take for it is $12. Don't let me handle this. I know how these guys work. And we're just sitting in there listening to the whole conversation. I mean, it's like I didn't need to follow anybody. I knew the psychology behind every single sale, like from day one. Now it became illegal months later, and they came and pulled all that stuff out of there. But that's what happens.
And now we have Alexa to do it for us.
Right? Yeah, she hears everything.
Likely been spying on our entire
Yeah,
conversation.
that's Brittany, by the way.
Brittany.
Brittany, right? So that's how do we stop that?
Well,
It's like how do we stop this madness that was created by guys like me and before me?
Because
it was even
it's
worse.
training. And again, I'm very hesitant to be critical, but let's call a spade here. It's training. It's leading by example. There are a lot of managers right now that were kicked up. I'm selling 18 cars a month.
Right,
I
yeah,
got
you're
no
a manager,
demo.
yeah.
I'm working 6 days a week. Store down the road offered me a car, gas,
right.
and a better pay plan. Well,
Right.
you want to be a manager?
Right.
All right, I'll be a manager.
Right.
So now you've effectively taken 18 deals out of your bottom line.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
And you are promoting somebody for all the right reasons because he's holding your feet in the fire.
Right.
And you never train him. There are very few really good, strong management training courses, other than Ziegler, a couple others.
Right.
that I can think of.
NADA. The small percentage of people that go to NADA Academy really bother me. There's an opportunity that people just don't take advantage of, whether it be the dealer or the management training.
I don't want to piss anybody off because it's not the majority. But
Right.
listen, you and I, we are members of how many social media professional groups?
Yeah. Too many.
And, I see some of these things, guys screenshotting their grosses from the weekend. I took
bad.
this guy's head off today. It's
Somebody
you're
addressed
selling
this
cars
in
for all
Ziegler's
the
group not too long ago.
What's that?
Somebody addressed that in Ziegler's group. not
Yeah.
too long
Well,
ago.
he doesn't stand for it
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
He'll blow you out. It doesn't matter who you are. You're out.
Right.
Ziegler, he gets, rightfully so.
And guess what? If Ziegler was still selling cars, he'd be the first one
Yeah.
to sign off on a big deal.
Right.
But
You bet.
you don't crow about it.
Yeah, that's what spun off the
Exactly
whole "act like you've been there before" conversation.
Act like you've been there
And
before,
So I
exactly.
jumped in because that's my favorite saying about everything in life. Everything.
Right.
I apply it to everything. But I think you mentioned a big word is generational. I think a lot of it's just time. I mean, let's take the negativity out of it and
right.
assume that 80% of the dealerships are doing it the right way. How long does it take for that to trickle down and people to take notice?
Going to take a long time.
And that's what I think is happening. I think we see it, or at least I feel that I see it in trying to staff stores for auto dealerships.
Yep.
We're not necessarily always getting the best candidate. We're getting the best that apply, but how many people choose not to apply
Sure.
because of their perception?
The stigma.
So we're still getting good quality people, but
Right.
how many more could there be if this industry would,
Well,
I'm going to say, wake up and make a stronger effort at changing the image? You're talking about training. Well, it doesn't happen. It just it doesn't. There's
I always go back to the old man, God rest his soul, Mr. Newman. I'm on the phone with him one day, and I'm losing Toby. And Toby wasn't the greatest salesman, but he was a rock solid part of our team. Why are you losing him? Well, his wife just had their second kid, and he just can't give us the time. And Mr. Newman wasn't a big fan of this kid, but this was the humanity of the man.
Right.
Why don't you figure out what he can do? Because his family comes first.
That's unusual.
And you bring it to the other guys first.
Right.
And you tell them that the next one that might need a special consideration might be you. So factor that into your decision.
Really?
And vote on whether or not we give Toby an abbreviated schedule.
That's interesting.
My dear friend Bob Drager, who got throat cancer in 2002, he was out of work for 6 months. And Mr. Newman said, why don't you figure out a way to get him paid on house deals? Old-time guy.
Yeah.
It's not to say that the criteria for having a heart is old time.
Right.
But here was a guy that said, you don't want to lose somebody because he just had a child. You certainly don't want to hurt a guy who's getting radiation to the Adam's apple either. And you know what? My other salespeople were unanimous. Let's take care of Toby. If he can come in 30 hours a week, if I can split a deal with him, if I handle one of his past customers, he gets the whole thing. One of the things that I always really advocated, which I don't see a lot of, and you guys might see more of it doing what you do, is the bucket philosophy to compensation. Bucket pay plans, where everybody shares in everybody's success. Still to pay plan, okay, we do it for sales and management as far as the success or failure of F&I. But do we do it for sales managers as far as the success of fixed ops and vice versa? Do we give everybody a little taste, or are we going to continue to keep the front and the back of the house like Iran and Israel?
Okay, so I was confused for a minute. You're not talking about equality of outcome. You're talking about getting paid on creating synergy through a pay plan, through a compensation plan, right?
Correct.
Between so-called front and back and
Right.
what have you. Okay,
Service
yeah.
is killing me on my used cars.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, I don't understand why dealers don't pay salespeople on F&I. It makes no sense. There's a war just because you're not divvying up the money.
Look what just happened there, though. So we were talking about perception among customers
Yeah.
and within the community and stuff, and the entire conversation went to employees.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've driven
Right.
home to our clients a lot.
Right.
These are your customers. This person that you're turning away, that you don't want to hire because they worked at Home Depot, that maybe had to be talked into the position. No, they're not dying to work here. I'm not interested in them. And our
Yeah.
trainers do an excellent job. I post a third of our ads are often customer service ads because, what is it? It's customer service. You might not be sitting
Yep.
on a phone all day, but it's customer service. You're serving a customer. So, this person comes in, it's not their ideal picture of what they think a sales consultant should look like. They get turned away, they get treated like crap. It trickles throughout the entire community. What happens on the flip side of that, like with Toby, you have every employee at the dealership goes home, hey, listen to what happened today with Toby. That's amazing. They start talking about it. It's like, obviously we live in an interconnected world. There's social media and everything, but things still get spread around by word of mouth. It still starts, the pay it forward or the butterfly effect or whatever you want to call
Right.
it. It has to start with one person doing the right thing within a store, and the easiest way to do that is with your employees and with your hiring practices and the way you treat the people that work for you.
Yeah, it's this is a different spin on what you're saying about working with your employees and their staff to try to give them some flexibility. You mentioned Advo marketing. Well, I was selling some marketing at one point. I'd left the business for a little bit, and I had a friend running a store, and he really wanted me to come back and work for him in the sales department. I'm like, no, I have weekends off, all that kind of stuff. So they must have taken a vote and allowed me to work a schedule Monday to Friday, bell to bell. I didn't have to work any Saturdays ever, but I outsold most people that were there. Almost everybody. I mean, there might have been one guy that was still, there a long time that outsold me. But by giving me that flexibility, that affected my life in a positive way, kept me in the business. And I don't think it hurt the dealership in any way, shape, or form. So, it's kind of, in my thinking, the industry really has to make some significant changes in their people skills. I don't want to go against our industry, but we spend so much thought and mind and effort in the product and the process and things like that, and it's easy to spend the money, but it just seems that the attitude towards people is still too expendable. There's always going to be somebody else there if you don't like the expression that I grew up with in the auto business was very clear. Route 38, which is the road that we were on, goes east and west. You don't like it, pick a direction. Period. And that was out loud verbalized to all of us. I mean, there was no gray area with that. So that philosophy. You talked about the diversity of staff. We actually were ahead of our time in that regard. There was everybody. There were women. We had women salespeople, and I was kind of shocked when I started hearing other stores like, "Oh, no women." Are you kidding me?
Right.
We had plenty of women work for our company. But I guess the whole thing is, somehow the perception, and maybe it is with the younger people, and then the stories that got passed down to them, at some point there has to be a concerted effort to make a change with that so that the type of person that wants to get into the auto industry is some of the better, sharper people, not just say somebody who's got nothing, hey, this is my last, I don't know,
Right.
I'm going to fall into it.
Right.
It'd be nice if somebody with skill sets that we could sell, like Troy, that we had a guest on a previous podcast who talked about Troy Spring. He talked about how he sells his company
Right.
to a prospective employee. If more dealerships would take that thought process and be at the best, though, what it could do for us as an industry.
And I think it comes back to two things: schedule and pay plan. You talked about schedule a lot, and we'll have clients. We have a 5-day work week. Put that in there. I'm like, Okay. Does anyone come in not expecting a 5-day work week that's never worked in the automotive industry?
Exactly
No one
right.
applies for a job expecting to work 6 or 7 days a week. That should just kind of go without saying. I know that's not the nature of our industry, but you need to adapt or you're not going to get the top talent. You're not going to get the type of people that you want here. Other instances, hey, this guy came in and he doesn't want to work for commission. Okay. Don't pay him on commission. Give him a flat, small base, $2,000 a month, and pay him per car. It's take the C word out of it. I won't even put commission in our ads anymore because it's become such a dirty word for people outside the
No one
industry.
answers
There's no
the
reason
ad.
to do it.
No
You're not
one
even going to
answers.
get to talk to anyone. So what's the point?
Right. Even if you put, and we've tested this, non-commissioned sales.
It hurts it.
Right, it hurts it because the word commission's in there. That's how tricky the keywords and tag words are in an ad, in help wanted advertising. You say that, and we have to give them options. It's like I've been talking about this forever. College tuition reimbursement program. If you want to get different,
I love that.
right? If you want to get different people in your dealership, and not that a college grad is better than a high school grad. I don't need to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
However,
There are young men and women out there that have this monkey on their back called $85,000 worth of student loans.
right.
And they don't feel that they're going to get the time. They would rather take a $17 an hour job
Exactly.
at Lowe's
Right.
than the possibility of a $90,000 a year job
Correct.
humping Hyundais.
Right.
Because at least the 17 is guaranteed. And
Right.
that's sad.
Right. And so if you're that person, or you're that person's father, grandfather, right, and that person comes home to you and say, "Well, Pop, what do you think? I can go sell cars." No. Well, wait a minute. That $38,200, which is the average, and my $387 a month, they're going to take care of that. All I got to do is sell 5 cars a month, or just make it a legit no-brainer.
yeah.
That's going to change the type of person that you get there. Now, is that person better than a high school graduate or a person that went to 1-year college? I don't know. We could debate that forever. But in my opinion,
What you might get-
they have experience, and they have. See, the way our business is going, we better be smarter.
Yeah.
Because I said it with Troy, like Ben Stock said, Bezos is not here to take over your dealership. He's here to take over your industry.
And this industry is ripe for a takeover.
You
for
bet it is.
disruption.
And so it's not. I'm not saying that as a scare tactic. We just got to be smarter. So if I have the ability to hire somebody with the intellect to be able to mentally accept to conceive building their own brand, understand people, understand a CRM,
Understand technology. Right.
understand technology, I got to be further ahead than someone that doesn't.
We'll take your plan to the next level.
Right.
Not only college graduates have student loan debt. Guys and girls that went for 1 year, 2 years, 2.5, 4
Exactly right.
semesters.
Right,
There
exactly.
might be somebody in that pool
Right.
of talent.
Do you know, and I've been using this number for quite a while, and it was 53%. 60% of the people that are going to college now, 60% are female.
Yeah.
It's 60-40. That's crazy.
Target rich environment.
And all we're trying to do is hedge our bets here. It's not like every vet's going to be a great car salesman.
Correct. Sure.
Every woman's going to be a great car
Exactly
salesman.
right. You're dead
But
center.
you play to the odds, and more often than not, you're going to come out ahead.
Right. I was talking to Lisa the other day, Lisa Copeland, about this the other day. It's mind blowing, and we're talking about females, but take any demo you want. I don't care what it is. You take 100 people, right, and say, okay, well, I guess in this we're talking about females. So, all right, so 51% of the population is female. So you 51, you can go ahead and leave.
Right.
And I'm just going to pick from you 49.
Right.
It's like, say it out loud, man. It makes no sense.
Yep.
It makes no sense. You're picking up teams on a Saturday to play baseball when you're 9 years old, and okay, you kids go home. Yeah. It's like, what? I can't play? No, you can't play. You're too fat. You're too young. You're too old. You're whatever. It's insanity.
Sure it is.
It's absolute
Hey,
insane.
remember the old meme? It was a bumper sticker. As a woman, I have to work twice as hard to be thought of as half as good as a man.
Yeah.
Look at some of the women that we know in the car business. That
Women, not to interrupt you, women in automotive. Actually, Jody DeVere got back to me, and one of the founders or someone from Women in Automotive is going to be on the podcast. We haven't set it up yet, but Jody wrote me, so which is going to be pretty cool.
How many do we just even have on our LinkedIn and Facebook feeds that are mothers of multiple children?
Yep.
They figured
lot.
out a way to do this.
Right.
And they have, you talk about military service bringing qualities to the sales floor. How about motherhood?
Yeah.
What kind of qualities and discipline?
And that's one that
does
hurts
bring?
me. And that's I'm not belittling service to our country, but that's even harder to overcome on a resume than serving in the military.
No question.
You got a 5-year gap, and I'll see it now because I roll up my sleeves and get dirty a little bit and do some screening and recruiting when I get bored, and I'll see it on a resume. Homemaker, housewife,
Right.
and that's brutal for me to see because I know she's probably not going to get a chance.
Correct.
And I was raised by a single mother. I watched my wife grind away. I know she's rejoining the labor force in 3 years. And I'm like, I can't imagine having my mom or my wife told, "Well, you were just a mom for 6, 7 years, so
Right.
I don't think you can sell cars."
Right.
I just
Right. And to
can't
your point,
handle
to your point earlier, you said about the 5-day work week, and it's like, okay,
yeah.
right. But here's the thing: are some of those people going to come in? Are they going to end up working 6 days? Right.
Yeah, maybe so.
Voluntarily, 7
Sure.
days, whatever you get. I mean, right, it just happens. Some people are just developed differently,
but you can-
mentally.
And aside
strong.
from that,
You can do it.
reduce the shifts, have them come in 6 days
Exactly.
a week, but work 6-hour shifts.
You could extend the hours of the dealership.
Right.
End up
There's a lot
selling
you
more
could do.
cars
And
by cutting their hours.
My point is, if you put it in the ad like that, you're not even going to see them anyway.
Right,
So
exactly.
just leave it out and
Right.
talk to people when they come in and say, "Hey, here's how it works."
Right.
You have a lot of what we're looking for.
Yes.
We're not going to work 60 hours a week. You may have to work a Saturday from here and then. It's not my way or the highway. That doesn't work.
No. And listen, so many dealers and decision makers are deathly afraid of not having floor coverage.
Sure.
And let's say you make concessions for the one guy that's an outside salesperson, for
Right.
the one mom that's got to have Thursdays and Fridays off, and all of a sudden the up bus drops off, and you got 3 people unattended. I'm not making any more special conditions for
Yeah,
anybody.
yeah.
Right.
Everybody's working key to key, 1 day off on Sunday.
Right.
You're going to have times, even with a full staff, a full contingent, you're going to have Saturday afternoons with 5 or 6 people
Yeah.
that are not being waited on.
That's gonna happen.
Right.
So
What's the difference?
get your managers to take it up.
Right.
But,
Right.
we cut our noses off to spite our face.
Right.
To, mix my metaphors. We don't see the big picture.
Right.
And we just keep on doing the same thing the same way in this business over and over. And when 1 or 2 salespeople complain that this isn't fair, okay, I'm not going to make any special considerations for anybody anymore. So we just keep on getting what we get.
Right. And what I'm observing, though, at least online, and that's kind of the way, because I don't go into stores anymore. So maybe it's my bad. Maybe I should start doing that. We're still talking about a small percentage of dealers that really operate this way. Right?
Yeah,
And-
sure,
and they're the
yeah.
ones that end up in the news losing their stores and doing something really, really bad. So most of them are, the intent, I think, is better.
The intent's better. I still think it's a problem of slow to adapt. I
Right.
still think it just takes too much pain for us to get to a point where we're
it's
going
pain.
to make. And I think a lot of
It
it
is
is
pain.
what Chris said, where it's well, I can't do that for them. Then I got to do it for all my old guys. I
It
hear
is.
that with technicians a lot. I mean, the tech need is out
There
of
you go.
control. We find the perfect tech. I can't give him that. I'll have guys running out the door. I can't do that for him.
Right.
I'd have to do it for all my other guys. It's like, well, then do it for all your other guys.
Yeah,
They
okay.
obviously, they
Exact-
probably, if that's the current market rate, if supply and demand of labor have dictated that this is what you should be paying them, or this is the hours they should be working, you should probably be doing it for all your guys before you lose all of them
right.
anyway.
Exactly.
It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all. That's just stupid. That's hard, though. We've, on and off over the years, we've been in business 21 years. We have battled with, well, we've always done it this way.
Yeah, culture change is brutal.
It is brutal. Change is freaking hard. I mean, we just went through it with our ATS and our CRM. It was like, really?
Awful
And like
Change sucks.
it does, but you have to adapt or die, right?
Well,
that's the way it is.
Up until only 7, 8, 10 years ago, again, with the internet, salespeople are, part of the professional sales group, sales hustlers,
Right.
the group that shall not be named because it's secret, and they hear what's going on in other stores, and in some instances they say, "Thank God I'm where I'm at."
Right.
But in more instances they say, "Wow, I'm glad I don't work at your store."
Yeah.
And you know where this always comes up? Around a holiday. You guys open on Easter? How about Christmas?
Oh, yeah, it does, doesn't
And
it?
I can't believe your owner makes you work. I wouldn't work there. And it's just it's a small example, but these sales groups, we never knew. How did you
was going
find?
on across
How did you
town,
find out what was going on across town? After work, you were at the bar, and the guys from the Honda dealership were
Right,
there.
right.
Oh shit,
Yeah.
we
They were
get
buying.
$250 spiffs on 60-day cars. You what?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, it was
Yeah.
pretty funny hearing you two talk about some of your stories. They're like, damn, that's the same as what we were doing at our dealership. You know,
Right.
I didn't know.
Well, see, and this is what
necessarily.
I'm saying. That's
It's-
what, probably half a generation. You're not a full generation removed, but half a generation removed or
Right.
so.
Right.
So it takes time.
It does,
It
I
sh-
guess.
it's maybe shouldn't take that much time, and it might become a problem here real soon if it keeps taking more time. But I think things are improving. So I don't want to sit here, like you said, and say it's all of them or it's not improving.
Right.
It's just some of the things we see that could use.
Accelerated.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear a joke from Brittany. Can you
All
fire
right,
her
Brittany.
up? It's time for a Brittany joke.
You got Jackie the Joke Man Martling sitting here, and you're going to use a freaking computer?
Yes. Yeah, yours are probably filthy.
Not all of them.
Hey, Google, tell us a joke.
How do you get over a fear of elevators? Just take some steps to avoid them.
All right, Chris, go ahead.
Wow.
Go ahead, your
no,
turn.
my jokes are all too long.
Man versus
No,
the
go ahead,
machine.
come
Let's
on.
hear it.
Let's go.
What's that?
Man versus the machine.
Right.
Man versus the machine.
Come on, dude. Give us a joke. It can be dirty. It doesn't matter. This is the internet.
Oh, no, we can't give you sure?
Well, I don't know. It depends how dirty. I mean,
Well, okay, we're sitting
Farm
here. We're sitting
animals
here on
would be
a
bad.
podcast,
right.
which is 2019 technology. It's
Yes.
the new horizon.
It is. We're trendsetters.
But, a generation ago, the way that a lot of people got together was talk radio. It's where you listen to your favorite DJ and call-in shows and whatnot. And this isn't something that's exclusive to the United States. As a matter of fact, many years ago in Dublin, Ireland, there was a DJ, very famous. His name was Brian O'Rourke. And he had the most popular radio call-in show in all of Ireland.
Huh?
And he'd do crazy things. He'd have contests every morning. And one day he goes on the air, 6 a.m. Good morning, Dublin. This is Brian O'Rourke. How's everything out in the Misty Isle today? We're gonna do things a little different today. We're gonna have a contest. I'd like all my callers, all my listeners to call in. Give me a word, a purely nonsensical word, a word that doesn't exist in the English language. And the best word, the one that I think is the most creative, I'm going to send you and a loved one on a 3-day, 4-night bed and breakfast in Galway Bay. It's a wonderful trip, truly wonderful. All expenses paid on the station. So give me a call here at the station. So a few minutes goes by, the phone rings. Good morning, caller. This is Brian O'Rourke. You got a word for me? The caller says, I do. He says, well, what's your word? The caller says, me word is gooin. Gooin, is it? How you spelling that? Gouin. Brian pulls out his Webster's dictionary, looks it up, Gouin. Sure enough, there's no word. He says, okay, caller, can you use it in a sentence? The caller says, I can. He says, well, have a go at it, boyo. And the caller says, go and fuck yourself. And Brian says, Holy Mary, Mother of God, this is a family show. You can't be talking like that. Don't call back. And he hangs up. I'm sorry to my audience that miserable son of a bitch called here and used the F word on the live radio. But be that as it may, keep on calling, keep on calling. So people are calling in with nonsensical words. About a half an hour later, the phone rings again. Good morning, caller. This is Brian. Do you have a word for me? And the caller says, I do. He says, what's your word? And the caller says, me word is shmee. Shmee, is it? How you spelling that? Schmee. Brian pulls out his dictionary. Sure enough, there's no word in the dictionary. can you use it in a sentence? He says, I can. He says, well, have a go at it, boyo. And the caller says, it's me again, go and fuck yourself. You think she could do that?
Not yet. She might now, because you just taught her.
Yeah.
That's called AI.
5 years.
That's
5
machine
years.
learning right there. That's awesome.
Nice job.
Good job.
Thanks.
That is a good job.
You Irish?
I am Irish, Polish, and Russian.
I got to pee. I'll be back.
Why do they call it take a pee? Shouldn't it be leave a pee? You gotta take a pee. Where are you gonna take it? You taking it for a walk? You gonna put a leash on it?
Take a pee. That's a good point. I never thought of that.
Where are you going, Craig? I gotta leave a pee. So how's the family?
We're good.
You know?
Well, we were in Ohio for all of Easter, about 8 days. It's good. It was exhausting. Very, very.
And you're getting used to the Delaware.
Yeah, it's cool.
The Delaware.
Yeah, so it's funny when we talk about vets and military life. So it's been kind of an adjustment for us because I mentioned we're right by the Air Force Base.
Sure.
We're about 10 minutes from there. So I've just noticed it's, they're slow to warm up. It's a fraternity,
Oh yeah.
But once they do, you're fine. It's just it's not as simple as meet people with kids close to your age, start hanging out with them. It's a close knit group, but yeah, we're adjusting. We're coming up on a year here. It's been good. No complaints.
Chris, I'm going to ask you. You are a military historian, right?
Well, to a degree. I like to be. Let's put it this way. I harbor no illusions that, I'm the be-all and end-all.
It was interesting. I spent the weekend up at Gettysburg.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it was every time I go, it's as fascinating as the first time I went. And the stories, you learn something different about the battlefield or the battles within the battlefield and the strategy. I was just curious if you had any particular thought on strategies that were employed for those 3 days of battle. Do you consider yourself anything in that?
When you consider, they say that each war or battle begins with what was learned in the previous campaign. And let's take it all the way back to the Revolutionary War.
Anybody need a water?
I'd love a water. Column of men stood here, 100 feet away, a column of men stood there, knowing they were going to get shot, and they did. So they were using essentially round balls of lead, and they hurt like hell, and they killed many men. Fast forward to Civil War, and there was a man by the name of Gustave Minié who invented the mini ball. And the mini ball would tumble, and they employed the rifled barrel.
Right.
They had smoothbores in previous wars, and the rifled barrel would make the mini ball spin and gain acceleration exponentially. And if you got hit with a mini ball in the shoulder, you're probably going to die when you combine the sheer power and killing force of this lead projectile with the fact that they had terrible battlefield medical expertise.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the Civil War, we were still lining our men up to face musket fire and artillery grape shot until and one of the people that said this is nuts, we got to stop this, was Nathan Bedford Forrest, who has long been considered one of the greatest guerrilla fighters in American military history. So we ain't lining up with these guys anymore. We're going to hide behind stone walls, trees. We're going to climb trees. We are going to employ snipers. And the technology and military maneuvers and the way the battles were fought really changed in the Civil War. And it was brutal. The mini ball has been called one of the 5 greatest instruments of death ever created for the damage it did. And these guys knew it. And we were fighting brother against brother. And there was, well, I think we lost 680,000 between the North and the South,
No shit.
and almost 1.5 million amputations. Now, we lost just as many men in the Civil War to dysentery and infection and gangrene and malnutrition as we did to battlefield injuries.
Is that over and above that figure of 680 or
No,
included?
that's included in that.
Yeah.
There was no sterilization.
No.
You know, if you ever look back at some of the old pictures, you know, these surgeons are they got baskets of legs and arms.
Right.
And
They just
using
chop
the
'em
same
off.
hacksaw, chopping them off. If they ran out of ether, they'd put a leather strap in this guy's mouth to bite down on. Many recountings of guys actually breaking their jaw, biting down so hard against the
Right.
pain of getting an amputation at the thigh.
Right.
And when you consider Gettysburg was so far past, I mean, we had already experienced, obviously, Bull Run, Vicksburg, Antietam, tens of thousands of guys. I mean, we knew as a nation what we were doing to ourselves. We were ripping ourselves apart. And the Southerners gave as well as they got. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for Gettysburg, and the fact that they couldn't move their columns and their reinforcements up, they may have won. They may have made it into Virginia.
So here's some useless knowledge. No, not really. It's kind of interesting. I forget his first name, but I think he was a doctor, so I'll call him doctor, that came up with the first antiseptic. No. What's it called when they put you out? What's that called?
Anesthetic.
Anesthetic. What did I say?
Antiseptic.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the same thing. The guy, it was guy's name was Listerine,
Okay.
and that's how modern anesthetic he brought it into play, because it was just bite down on this piece of wood, grin and bear it, dude. Your leg's coming off. But he was the first one that acknowledged bacteria, germs, and how to kill them and go under anesthesia. So. Just useless knowledge I picked up.
On that note, I want to infuse a little fun
Let's-
into our broadcast here.
With Fabulous Fibs?
With the second
Let's
edition
have
of the
some fun.
award-winning game, Fabulous.
Fabulous Fibs.
You have the chance, Chris, to win an award.
You do. You
Where
got a
you
chance
sending
to
me?
The
win.
Where are you
award-winning
sending me?
portion.
So,
An all-expense paid trip to East Adam, Connecticut.
He's asking what he gets to win before he plays the game.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
This
rude.
is tough.
I'm a rude guy.
We'll see.
He'll be glad you asked.
Yeah, I would have thought it would
So-
take 100 guests to get to that.
So for Chris and all our viewers who haven't joined us for all of our podcasts, this is our second. Here's how it works.
Wait, we have a caller.
Is it Nick again?
Yeah.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Hey,
Stop calling.
Is it Shmee?
Shmee again.
Shmee?
I'm calling to win your contest.
You're going to win the contest.
You're my landline.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, first of all, I'm impressed you guys didn't get canceled after that first episode. Congrats for that.
Yeah, we lucked out.
You're impressive. Yeah, you lucked out. Sure your sponsors are backing out of this. Anyway, but this guy you got on is pretty cool. I like this Chris Walsh guy, but you're talking about anesthesia there. This show is like anesthesia, bro. You talk a little car business, and that's cool, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, back when I was in the third grade, let me tell you a story. Whatever. So anyway, I just want to say to the guy there, your guest there, Chris, I think it's cool and it's admirable, Cars for Vets. I do think that's a really cool thing. That's a noble cause. I guess I wonder a little bit because, my experience is vets make pretty good money because, I paid $125 for the vet to flush my schmunkin down the toilet. That was,
No, it's a different vet.
That's a veteran.
would you laugh at that? Dude, that schmunkin was my favorite fish ever.
Shubunkin.
He would do tricks.
Right? What
Yeah,
kind?
read a book. It's a type of fish.
Right?
Shabunkin?
Yeah.
I thought it was a
Yeah.
social disease.
I've never heard of shubunkin fish.
Yeah, well, read a book. Anyway, but anyway, so I mean that vets, they're good people. They help animals and stuff. So.
Right.
They did.
Right. Yes, they really do. They're freaking expensive, though, aren't they, dude?
They are. So I mean, maybe cars for something else. I don't know.
Cars for what would you suggest rather than cars? For, right.
Maybe cars for car guys who got to work for $100 minis.
That would be good cause marketing.
That would.
That's you know what? You might be onto something.
Instead of a yellow ribbon, you can have a plaid ribbon.
I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write that down.
Write it down.
Yeah, cars.
Someone who I don't know who yelled. I think Joe yelled. Different kind of vets. What are you talking about?
Right. Well, people that actually served in our military and protected our country. That type of veteran.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a different story.
You were trying to get the other podcast.
I was in the Air Force, so that's cool.
That's right.
Thanks for your service, brother.
I think I remember that you were in the Air Force. It's hard to believe they.
No, I didn't see any action or anything, but
Right.
I mean, I'll be honest with you.
It doesn't surprise
the
me.
war that I've been fighting against high blood pressure,
Right.
is pretty significant.
Is it?
So, yeah, I mean, it's not the same kind of action. But
It's not. You could probably change that with your diet. It's really hard for me to believe that they would put you in an expensive piece of equipment like that, like in the Air Force. That shocks me somehow.
They kept me. I was like Agent Orange. I was covert ops.
I see. Very covert. All right, listen.
That was my thing.
We're about to play Fabulous Fibs. On the next show, if you don't mind, if you'd like to play, we'll set a contest up for you. How would you like that?
Yeah, Fabulous Fibs. I'll own that game.
Right? All right, my friend. You have a beautiful day, and
Hey, you too. But you guys stop knocking us old school car guys, would you?
I will absolutely. Honestly, I really will. Go hug a polar bear or whatever you ever do.
Go
up there.
grabbing up.
Grabbing up, dude. Peace.
All right.
Thanks, Nick.
Bye, Nick.
Always a treat.
Oh my.
It's 5 p.m. somewhere.
I guess he's gonna become a regular of the show.
All right. That was Nick.
It was Nick.
Always a treat.
Nick the
So,
Cop.
all right.
Do you remember at the Christian dealer conference when he did his character?
Yes, I do. Yep.
It was great.
Yeah. That was a great conference.
So, all right. So, getting back, Fabulous Fibs.
Fabulous Fibs.
I'm going to read off 3 statements.
Okay.
You have to tell me which one is true.
All right.
These 3
But how do you know I'm
statements.
going to be lying to you?
There's one is true. Well, there's only one true.
It's black and white. You ready?
I'm ready. Okay.
I'll read them twice.
Boy Scout. I was born ready. Wasn't an Eagle Scout.
So you were listening.
Of course I was listening.
Okay.
All right.
Remember the shit we used to get in 5th grade when we were Weeblos? And all the kids that weren't in the Boy Scouts would laugh at you. Weeblo, you blow.
What is that after Boy Scouts?
That's
Yeah,
before.
Because I quit
no,
at
no,
Boy
no,
Scouts.
no, that's before
Like,
Boy Scouts.
Right before
Oh,
Boy
it
Scouts.
is?
Yeah.
It's the last. It's
Af-
like at the
after
end
you
of
got
Cub
your
Scouts.
you get your
Oh,
you get
yeah,
your
that's right.
Wildcat or
Right,
your
right,
Badger
right.
badge, and then you become a Weeblo.
That's right.
Stop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You blow.
Okay. Statement number 1.
Number 1.
Joe Lockard, myself, once played Oliver Twist in a theatrical version of Oliver Twist. The lowest unemployment rate on record was 0.5% in 1944. Datsun created the first compact pickup in 1959. I'll read them again. I once played Oliver Twist in a theatrical version of Oliver Twist.
You want more? You want more?
More, sir. May I please have some more, sir?
The lowest recorded unemployment rate was 0.5% in 1944, and Datsun created the first compact pickup in 1959. Which of those is true?
I could see you as Oliver. Datsun created the first. No, I think Datsun created the first pickup truck in the early 50s. And the unemployment rate during World War II, that's the true one right there. I fucked up. You were Oliver Twist.
I wasn't. I played Tiny Tim for 4 years.
Did you really?
In the Canton Civic Theater's
I don't see.
version of A Christmas Carol.
He was
I
classic
killed
Academy Award winning
Star of the
Tiny
show.
Tim. It was
If-
awesome.
If I hadn't grown, they'd have kept putting me in. I
I was
played
going
it
to say, you must
kindergarten.
have given poor Bob Cratchit
Kindergarten.
a friggin' hurt.
Right,
Yeah, well,
at the end.
that's what happened by third grade. They were like, all right, we can't pick you up anymore. So that was the end of it.
Darn.
Yeah.
So unemployment was, as you said, very low in 1944. It is the lowest one on rate is 1.2%. It's never gotten underneath 1% ever.
What are we now? Well, depending on
3.9.
3.9.
Which is effectively everybody's working.
Yeah.
Was that because
That
of
figure could
being
be.
in the military? Is that considered employment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody was working.
Yeah. Gaining a paycheck.
Pretty cool.
That
And so the correct one was Datsun did create the first compact pickup in the year 1959.
all right. That's shocking.
Yeah, I looked up a lot, so I'm researched these and try to come up with car stuff, current event stuff about us, and the history of the pickup truck is fascinating. I mean, it goes way back. The first truck was a version of the Model T, and then if you go back even further than that, they were selling the beds that you just had to
Bolt on.
attach. Yeah, you just bolted onto cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
but-
Just a wagon with a motor.
Right. So
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I wanted to go to the first actual,
Import.
pickup, the first compact, the first,
Yeah.
Yeah,
why
you
did
give Troy Spring Leonard Skinner
General
questions, and
use.
you give me a pickup.
Oh, what a
Troy got
baby.
his, that's right. What
Yeah.
was Troy's true one? Oh, Ernie.
Yeah.
Ernie being, how can you dispute
All right,
that?
Right.
look,
Well, that's true too.
I got to back up.
You have an opportunity.
Everybody wins on the Recruiter
Everybody
podcast,
wins.
okay?
Everybody
and I
wins.
think you can handle this one. I feel good about this.
Okay.
Which United States general has commanded troops for the most battles with 16?
Oh, Christ, it's got to be Patton.
It's Ulysses S. Grant.
Oh, Christ, it's got to be Ulysses S. Grant.
We have a winner.
I got a little tricky there because generally, technically, he's Union, but
Right.
still
Yeah.
United States.
Right. We could have
Patton,
said.
post Civil War, it's probably Patton, I would assume.
Oh, it would have to be. Or Westmoreland. Would it be West? Would Westmoreland have more than Patton?
No, because I don't know that he won.
No. Oh, was that?
Right?
Did you say win or?
Win. Yeah, I don't know that he would have considered winning, right?
Oh, I didn't know that was part of the question. I thought it was
One of the greatest lines in a war
No
movie.
winning, it's just
most
fought.
campaigns.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
But you still win.
I
so
do?
What's he get?
You get a
Tell me
71
what he
Datsun Momo.
Woo!
Ooh,
That's nice.
Pretty cool.
can I donate it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do whatever you want.
I'm going to donate it to the orphan Haribo gummy bears. No, thank you very much.
In a 2010 Camaro Super Sport.
Oh, that's very cool.
Police Force.
That's Chris Walsh.
Do you know
Very
what
good.
depresses the hell out of me?
No,
Is
what?
going on eBay and looking at the prices of some of the Hot Wheels we used to
Yeah,
have.
man. Are you kidding me?
Expensive.
Oh, I thought you were going in a different direction.
A lot of toys in
you
general.
you want to get depressed? Go, I sold 72, 73, 74 Cudas brand new. They were $3,200. Try to go get one for under 150 grand right now.
Yep.
Is like
amazing.
We'd sell them off the truck literally before they hit the lot. They were sold. Bang, bang, bang. I'll take that one, that one, that one. Back then, at full sticker was $3,200. We made 20%, $600, $700, right? It's foolish, man. Just crazy.
Yep. I love the stories. Every now and then somebody finds a Porsche Speedster or a Road Runner in a barn that's been under oilcloth tarp on blocks for 60 years. The kid didn't come back from Vietnam. The mother didn't know what to do with the car.
Santangelo just texted me. He
What's he
says, I got the one right about the Datsun truck, so what do I win?
Which one do you want?
An appearance
Ant?
on our show.
Do you have the Antmobile there?
Ant.
I got a
He's going to want to
box
be
of
on the
them
show
at
so
home.
he can do the
So
Ant rant.
he would know the answer. I should know. This is stupid. Why did it change from Datsun to Nissan? The guy's name is Nissan, right?
I believe it was a public relations thing because Datsun was a post-war military-industrial company that had a bad. It was perceived negatively in the United States, which is funny because I got a job at a Mitsubishi dealership back in the 80s, and the day I started there, I left a. Don't ask me why. I left the greatest F&I job in the world to go to this Mitsubishi store.
Why?
Money. Money.
Okay.
Hyundai Mitsubishi. And I got a Eclipse Turbo for a demo. Red, gorgeous little car.
what?
An Eclipse, Mitsubishi Eclipse Turbo.
Okay.
You remember those?
Yes.
Ran like a rape date, just a fast car. And
Well, let's back up there.
I
real
remember
quick.
Raped ape.
I brought it over. I was going home, and I stopped at my mom and dad's house. And you got to check this out, Dad. You got to check out my new demo. And he comes out into the driveway. He says, "Do me a favor. Never bring that vehicle here again."
Whoa.
I said, "Why?"
Whoa.
And I didn't realize this. Mitsubishi made the engines for the Bettys and the Nip Zeros, the fighter planes, in World War II.
No kidding.
And he said, I can still, and what they would do is they would come out of the sun. He said, I can still hear the whine of those engines as they were bearing down on us on Henderson Field.
Whoa.
Yeah. So he said, go bring something else home next time.
Whoa. That gets ingrained in you.
Yeah.
That really gets ingrained in you.
So 3 weeks later, I totaled it.
No, seriously?
No.
Oh. Jeez.
How did I forget about Mitsubishi Eclipse?
Yeah.
Those were everywhere, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Everybody wanted
Everywhere.
one.
2000 or so.
It's a tough franchise right now, I would think.
Oh, it's terrible. But remember when they had the DAP, the Diamond Advantage program, the retail lease? You could do a Mitsubishi Galant E, and you could residualize a aftermarket roof, aftermarket leather, 6-disc changer, and the gold package. Remember the guy that used to come around the dealership with the little electric, turn all the chrome into gold? You could residualize those 4 things.
Wow.
You could do a 48-month Diamond Advantage program, retail lease for like $239,
Right.
make a $2,600 front end,
Right.
and the customer was happy.
Right.
Everybody was
Right. Or take somebody out of $3,000-$4,000 minus equity without any cash.
Yeah, those were the days.
I don't know if Ernie, I don't know if either of you guys experienced this, but back in the day when leases first came out, you didn't have to show the trade-in on any agreement, any contract.
Yeah.
So if you're trading in a car to me and you own free and clear and it's worth $2,000, right? It disappears.
You just see the final number.
Yeah, it's a payment.
It's factored in, Mr.
So we take the car in for $0, right? Sell it for $4,000. It's just like $4,000 found profit. It was just scooped. They
And
called
this
it.
is what
Scooped
this
the
is
price.
what Ernie
Nice
was
job,
talking
guys.
about.
I can't
before.
imagine why we have a reputation
Yeah,
problem in
exactly.
the automotive industry.
Jimmy Christoph's famous quote: "What were once processes are now felonies."
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everything we did was illegal. I got a good car store for you. So, excuse me. So I'm selling cars at Progressive Chevrolet in Massillon, Ohio, right down the street from where we lived on Bennington. And I come in one morning. It's a Saturday. Place is swamped, and I sold a ton of cars. Like you said, we're going to swap war stories on how many cars we sold. I sold a
You
crap
knew
load
it
of
was
cars,
inevitable.
dude. So I was a pretty good car salesman. So I come in a Saturday morning and the place is full, and it's like on a Saturday I'm going to do 4 or 5 for sure, or if not, there's something went wrong.
Right.
So first up of the day is young woman comes in, and this is 1978. 1978 because I went to Greenwald in 79. Yeah, so 78. She comes in, young girl, I don't know, early mid-20s, whatever. And believe it or not, you're going to have to trust me on this part of the story, is we had a Pinto. It was probably a 76. If this was 78, there was a 76 in the front line, right? Which is kind of odd, but it was red. And that's when these cars were blowing up. They were getting hit in the back and exploding, right? It's like, and they kept producing them, for a while. I don't know when they stopped, but it was probably pretty close to that time. But anyhow, we had one, and it was this car was detailed for retail. Wash it and you'd get it dirty. Man, it was lot ready, right?
Yeah.
We used to paint the engines back then. Do you guys remember
No,
that?
we didn't. I did.
Yeah, when in the detail, they would take this black engine paint and paint everything. So you would open up that engine and it looked newer than new. I mean, it was all just smoke and mirrors, and the undercarriage, everything. So this car was ready. I want something economical. So, great, well, how about this Pinto? So we take this Pinto out for a demo drive. When we go down, take a right out of Progressive, go down Hills and Dales. And then there was we lived, before the home on Bennington, there was a convenience store there, and there was a road there. We lived there for a while, but this
Mini
was...
Mart.
Yeah, the Mini Mart. And the next road down was a demo route. So we're driving down there, and I drove first off the lot, like a good salesman does.
Of course.
Right?
All right-hand turns.
Exactly right. So take a right, and then... So I had picked a really nice spot to switch drivers that had a beautiful background and everything, and I'd call her away from the car. Hey, take a look at your car.
Can you imagine this in your driveway?
No, well, no. My line was, where would you take this car on your first vacation? So I mentally put her on a vacation in her new Pinto. Shame on me. So here, it's your turn. So pull out of here. We're coming back, and there's a little bit of smoke coming out of the hood, right? And I'm thinking, well, it's just the car just came out of detail. So they just, they started.
Sure.
It was just the paint burning off the engine, basically, right? So she was starting to get a little concerned. And so she wanted to take the car over to her boyfriend's father, uncle, whatever, some other significant male figure in her life. And it started smoking a little more. I said, let's do this. I want to just make sure, before you take it, I want to have them check it. We'll get back there. And you take it for a couple of hours. So I got people waiting for me. And so it worked out great. So we're about at the Mini Mart, which is a quarter of a mile away from the dealership, basically. And I look at the hood, and the hood's starting to smoke and bubble a little bit.
Oh, no.
The paint on the hood. So I got a fire in the engine compartment, right? She said, is that supposed to be doing that? I said, nope. Pull left right in the lot. We pull in the lot where it's the hole where the car was probably, 8-10 cars in. We had a lot of frontage. There were probably 50 cars in that front line. And then, 18, 20 feet behind it was the second and third lines, bump SN to SN. Big lot, 150, 200 used on the lot. Mm-hmm. So I said, let's get out of the car. So she pulls it up to where the hole was in the front row, and we start walking away from it, and it was like a scene from a movie trailer, like if you were filming it, boom, from our face. Kaboom! This car explodes, takes 3, 4 right out of the front line, 2 behind. Now, it's a Saturday. The place is packed, right? And this car's on fire. The car's on fire, right? And the general manager's name is Ed Homan, right? Now, if everyone's selling 15, I'm 30 every month. Every month. I mean, it's like literally every single month. He comes out to me, he says, what the fuck? I said, dude, where the fuck is your customer? I said, are you kidding me? Where the fuck is my customer? The car she was just demoing blew up in the front line, dude. She left. Don't you ever let anybody leave this lot again.
Where were you a week, Craig?
I can't. I said, you know what? I'm going home. I'll see you.
Oh, my God.
I called your mom and said, I'm coming home, man. Car just blew up on me. What?
Oh, God.
I said, I'm coming home. Where'd your customer go? It's like, he used to come by my office and shake his penis at me. I would have, the salesman, I'm sitting here, the
I knew
customers
something
were
else
sitting
to get
there.
whipped out.
He would walk by. If you were with a customer, he'd pull his penis out and shake it at you. He was insane. He was absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. It's a total nutcase.
This is the business we have chosen.
He got paid a ton of money, man. He used to take us out for the Cleveland Car Show once a year, and I mean spend a stupid amount of money. He would take the top 5 people out of the store. And it was a party. We go down to the flats in Cleveland. We go to the car show, pretend like we're working or doing something there, and then drink from 10 in the morning till, whenever we got arrested. It was, and he would just be putting out the money. And it's like, we're all in demos. Automobile salesmen of today, I apologize to all of you right now.
We had cars.
The reason you don't have cars is because we did.
We did what we did.
And we went out and we drank and we wrecked them at record paces, like record pace. It was insane. Now I never did wreck a demo, which is really odd, but had been arrested several times driving them, but never wrecked one. But yeah, so
We
worst,
had.
you got one?
I had a general manager, best friend in my wedding, Keith Carlton, one of the best car guys I ever knew. He passed away in a car fire, and he went to Kent State on a full boat until he blew out his knee. Just a Missouri boy, just as sweet as smooth as he could close anybody. And he and I were working at an Acura store together. He was a GM. I was F&I/sales manager. It was only about a 60-car-a-month store. And he had, this is back when the Legends, okay, before it went to all the silly numbers. Why car manufacturers don't have names for their cars anymore? Everything's got to be a G20.
Ran out.
I guess. So he had a dark gray. Acura had a dark gray color this year. And it was a Legend SL. And we had gone out the night before, and the whole dealership went out. We were a tight group. And he got shithoused and drove home. Now, we had the twin to his car in the body shop, okay? Somebody had opened up, like you described it earlier, like a sardine can down the side.
Right.
Somebody had just opened up the passenger side, and the car's sitting in the body shop. So Keith comes in. He's got, donuts in one hand, 84-ounce coffee in the other.
No.
I get drunk last night.
Oh, no.
So he always used to park up against the side of the building, next to the passenger side, right next to the building. So we take his demo, we drive it back to the body shop. We take this customer's car with the right-hand side opened up. We slap his dealer plate on it, and we pull it up.
That's awesome.
And we wait about a half an hour. Keith. And coincidentally, it was the day that Leo Antonino, the dealer, would come around and visit our store. And it was always in the morning. How you doing? How's the numbers? Keith, what'd you do to your demo? Mr. Antonino's on the way. What do you mean? I didn't do nothing to my demo. What are you talking about? And he goes out and here's his demo with the whole right side opened up. I thought he was going to just soil himself. He had no idea because, again, it was the twin to this car.
Right.
And he's walking around and he's, how'd I do this? I don't remember. Didn't you follow me home? And we're dying. And we're just... He threatened to cut our pay plans. He threatened to fire us all when he realized it wasn't his car.
Yeah.
But, those are the fun things you used to be able to do back in those days.
Right, yeah.
But you are absolutely right. Sorry, younger guys. The reason you don't
Our
have
fault.
demos is what we did in those cars and to those cars.
Completely our fault. That was such a great perk, too.
Yeah,
Oh, it was such a great perk. I remember when, before you were born, your older sister, Jess, the only child we had, and we moved back into the farm that I grew up on. So I sold cars at Friedman Buick, which is no longer there. But, I don't know, 24, 25 years old. It was myself and the general manager were the only Gentiles in the entire building, like the entire building. Well, and the porters were African American. So, I mean, give you an idea of the culture of this store was very interesting. I learned a lot. But so I go into the GM's office. Kenny Rinaldo was his name. And he says, go pick out a car. I said, okay, well, what do we drive here? He says, whatever you want. It was a Buick dealership. I said, what do you mean? So, like a Skylark or something? He said, I don't know, if you want to drive a Skylark, have at it. So I go out, and it was like, this place was gigantic, had a test track. It was insane. There must have been 60, well, whatever, 50, 60 Rivieras there. And this is 1976. They were just sexy, man. The car was so freaking beautiful. I pick out this white Buick Riviera. I said, so I picked out this Riviera. Is that okay? Yeah. Would you stop with this already? Like, go sell a car, dude. It's like, get over it. Like, there's a top of the line. I mean, it was like that and the, what do we call them in Cleveland? The nines. Deuce and a quarter.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Electra
2 plus
225s,
5 is the 9.
Yeah.
Buick 9s, Electras, 225s. So he said, you sure you don't want an Electra, son? I said, no, man, it's cool. Because I was the only one. Everyone was like 140 years old, and then there was, I was 25 or whatever I was. And
Well, I don't know about the stores you worked in, but did you get gas too? Because we used to give gas.
No,
and
I got
the
it for
thought process
steps.
was you are a representative. You are an ambassador for this dealership.
Yeah.
Therefore, you are driving our product.
Yeah.
This is how we've done this 360. You're driving our product. You're an
Yeah.
ambassador for the dealership. We're
Yeah.
going to take care of the car for you.
Right.
Gas cards.
Right. Should
Sales.
still be that way, but, we did screw it up. However, dealers could go back to that program. It would obviously bump their garage rates, their rates, their insurance rates a little bit, but still could
It's
be done.
interesting what you said, though. The flip side of that, if somebody's working at a Ford store and driving a Chevy, that's a problem.
Horrible.
Sure. Big problem.
It's horrible. It's
Definitely
horrible.
You got to find a way to prevent that. I mean,
How about it's your brother-in-law?
yeah.
My son-in-law. He's working at a Subaru store. Well, he's selling used, so it's a little bit different. But but it's like, what choice does he have?
Especially something like Subaru. I mean, that's a
Right.
big brand image car. You think you'd want him driving a Subaru?
I would think. I mean, that
And you usually
got to
find
sell
the-
you way more cars every month
Sure.
by driving a Subaru. as a demo.
Subarus and Volkswagens, you have very loyal salespeople. They are
Right.
they are aficionados. They know those cars.
Yep.
They want to drive them.
Yeah, he's doing real well, by the way, which is pretty cool. Went from having a pretty big job in the landscaping industry with a huge franchise landscaper, it starts selling cars at a Subaru dealership in Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to Sean Thomas, my
There you go.
cool son-in-law.
To your point, though, it seems that there's a lot of drug testing and background testing and driver's license testing before somebody can get hired at a dealership. So you would think that they have a clean enough record that they should be able to.
Wow, that's a really good point.
So
there's
there's
gotta
a
be
good
a-
point.
It
different
didn't
reason
happen
behind
back
it.
then. Right.
Well, there were
It's the insurance premium.
a handful
wanna
of
pay the money.
high-profile
Right, but
cases.
they're clean. If they're getting employed, a lot of people don't get employed.
Yeah, but it's
It's
just
an
like
added
numbers.
expense. I mean, they're gonna have to pay.
Yeah,
to
you put
insure
5 more
those
people in cars, the premium's going to go up.
Quite a bit.
Right. Clean or not. But that's the interesting point. Right, because dealers are hiring people. We do a lot of recruiting in where? Colorado, California. Right. What do they have in common? Legal weed,
Legal
right?
weed.
But yet the dealers what?
Drug test.
Got a drug test.
yeah.
So it's like, they're still getting, they're getting people without, visible issues.
You're going to see a
Right.
discrimination case arise.
That's
out
what
of
I
it.
said.
Well,
I
you
say it
would
every
think.
week. I
It's
said,
crazy.
guys, I don't understand how you can even do this. I'm not
Yeah.
a lawyer,
Right.
but it's probably a bad idea. That's like testing someone for drinking last night. I don't see how you can do that.
I don't know. They're doing it.
I know.
They're doing it.
Again, slow reaction.
Yeah.
Probably won't be for a whole lot longer, but like you said, what happens? You get a class action lawsuit against you. People decide, hey, I didn't get hired because of this.
I would want my salesperson to be stoned.
If your customers are stoned,
Going to be friendly, slow the process down. I mean, that's the holy grail in our business. Slow the process down.
Right. Might be a little
what
psychotic.
about forget the process?
Dude, don't
Forget
you
the process.
love that new car smell, man?
Yeah, but it could go badly.
Oh, it could. Where's your
what
customer?
do you-
I
what do you
don't
mean
know.
my price is too high? You're making me so paranoid now.
Where's your customer? Oh shit, man! I left her at Dunkin' Donuts.
But seriously, if we're talking about, we talk about diversifying your
Right.
your floor to match your customers. I mean,
Right.
this is 95% of the population in a large number of areas on not just the West Coast.
Right.
I mean, I'm not advocating getting extremely high and coming to work. I mean, you still got to have rules and a standard, but to eliminate those people from working at your store in areas where it's legal, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It's a
I
very
just
strange
recommended
dichotomy.
a retired West Hartford homicide cop to a dealership, and I called the dealership. I'm sending this guy Rob down. He's a real deal. A couple days go by. You know, we'll take care of him. Obviously, we'll take care of him. This is in Connecticut. And hey, Rob, you know, how'd it go at such and such a dealer? Salesperson was stoned. He reeked of marijuana.
Huh.
I got a hold of the dealer and the internet director. I said, you need to know this. Okay? You know, again, this isn't just some, you know,
Right.
jag-off I sent into you.
Right.
This is a retired detective.
Right.
You know, he's not going to complain if there's not a legitimate reason to.
Right.
Neither one of them ever got back to me.
Really?
Neither one.
Embarrassment? What do you think?
I don't know.
They cared.
I don't know. Or they didn't care.
Yeah.
You think you don't?
I don't think they cared.
They didn't care that the incident itself took place. Didn't care enough about the lead. Jeez, that could go in a million different
All of it.
directions. All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't care that the employee was stoned. Didn't care that the
Oh.
customer was offended.
Didn't care that the employee was stoned. Yeah, that's possible.
And here's the kicker. When I texted him, he went to another Chevy dealer because he was looking at a Traverse, and he sent me the picture of the car he took spot delivery on. And I also sent that to the dealer.
Right.
This guy bought a car 2 hours after he left your dealership in disgust. No response. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, I find myself, it's changed so fast. I mean, 5 years ago, we'd be at a beach in Margate, and I'm like, fuck this. I got kids with me. I'm dealing with this bullshit. I'll go somewhere else. Now it's like, whatever, I don't care.
Why do you think that is?
I
Just
don't know. I think it
'cause
gets
you've
to a
aged?
certain point. It's like, well, it's here. You
Right.
know, it's it sounds cliche, but you laugh about alcohol and stuff. You don't hear about a whole lot of people doing bad stuff when they're just
Stoned.
sitting around smoking pot. You really don't.
It's true.
You really don't.
If I drank $10 worth of vodka,
Excuse me.
they call it the limbic node in your brain that makes you think that you can leap tall buildings.
Right.
$10 worth of vodka, I would want to fight even you.
Sure. Right.
I'd want to drive fast. I'd want to go pick up girls. I'd want to get into a fight.
Yeah.
$10 of marijuana.
I know.
I want to go buy some nacho cheese, sit down,
Right.
and
Watch
binge
Netflix.
watch.
I know, man. And it's
So you're right.
because you're starting to see the trickle down. It's like, well, nothing's happened. Everyone, the hardliners on the other side are like, oh, it's the fall of civilization and
Gateway
there's no
drug.
morals and gateway drug, and it's like,
Yeah. It could be a gateway drug, but
sure, but that's
I think-
different.
So
That's
could anything.
But it's not
different.
the drug.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
that's
not a chemical that makes you want to do something else.
Sure,
it's the
this is-
culture.
Right.
It's the culture.
right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna start doing drugs, maybe that's the first drug you tried. But
Right. It's available.
you want to start, you're going to do other drugs, regardless of if you started with pot or not.
I would
mean,
think.
you're just kind of wired that way. Hey, I want to take as many drugs as I possibly can. It's not
Right.
because you smoked pot.
Right.
But, I get mildly annoyed at certain places, but it's not to the point of I'm going to go say something to somebody if it reeks of pot somewhere
Right.
or
Right.
it's just,
When the girls are around, especially, that's when it's most called to your attention.
yeah.
Right. So I don't know if I mentioned this to both of you, or maybe I've told all of you guys this, but in New Jersey, to get, I'm having a few orthopedic issues, right? And we've tried a lot of different stuff. I mean, it's hard not to name stuff I haven't tried to get some of the different things in my body right. So my pain management doctor brought up medical marijuana. So I've been thinking about it, but I'm a recovering alcoholic, so that, it's probably not a great idea. However, the pain is pretty significant at times. So bottom line is this, I mentioned this to somebody, I mentioned it to Joanna's, shout out to Joanna. She's on a cruise with her dad and her little boy Brendan right now.
Hi, Joanna.
her roommate, she said to me, Craig, you understand that you can't have a gun license in the state of New Jersey
I didn't know that.
and a medical marijuana license.
Did not know that.
You
Not
lo-
surprising,
You lose
but-
your gun license.
Yeah, I mean that's New Jersey.
You lose it if you get.
That's a gun grab.
That's
Is that
Jersey,
is that
man.
what it is? A flat out gun grab.
Use the vodka
Use the law.
analogy again.
Right.
You know, I can
Right.
have my 9mm
crazy.
on my hip and go buy a half a gallon of Tito's.
Right,
Right.
madness.
But I can't have a gummy bear.
Right.
See,
There's
this
just
is-
no
and-
way
and
I'm giving
this
it.
is and this is my take. Take it a step further or apply it to our situation. Who'd you rather have? The functioning alcoholic or the pothead
Right.
who's smart as a whip,
Right.
smokes every day, has been smoking for every day, hasn't stopped him from doing anything in his life so far. Who do you want as your salesperson? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
A lot of problems come with alcoholism. Not as many come with somebody who smokes pot recreationally.
What stoner is going to pull a gun on you?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, let's talk about
Yeah. I
this.
smoked a lot of weed. Yeah. No joke starts. So this pothead walked into a bar. Right.
Right.
It doesn't. It just doesn't start that way.
I got beaten up by this real stone
Right.
guy. No, it doesn't happen.
Not that we're advocating drugs.
No, but
But
we live in a
Well, my stance has changed in the
weird.
past
My-
5 years, for
so
sure.
is mine.
For sure.
It's good that we evolve like that. I think
Yeah.
as a society, as people,
I think
as men.
I think what was hard for me about it is I smoked a lot of pot when I was younger.
Yes, you do.
And I mean a lot of pot.
Yes.
I try to really
I was
emphasize
going to
this
say
to
you
people.
got nice tits.
No one knows it. You know, to meet people, especially when I was in my bodybuilding phases, you know, I moved out. I moved from Ohio as one person and came out to New Jersey as a different person. So Ohio people, you know, two different human beings. So to know that grasp it had on my life and the fact that it just turned me into a lazy bum, it's like I have no interest in ever smoking pot again or going back to that lifestyle. But it's changed a lot. I mean, the different strands, the different,
yeah.
just the way
Yeah,
it's
what we
used
smoked
for
when we were
different
kids
things.
was like catnip
I'm
compared
sure.
to this rocket fuel.
Right.
that
So
they got nowadays.
it's I see people functioning at high levels that still smoke pot, and I'm like, well, I don't know anything about that.
I know guys my age, our age, that have been doing it
Yeah.
since their teens, and they, like, we get up in the morning and drink a cup of coffee.
Smoke pot.
I've got a very, very good friend who you've met, fires up,
Yep.
Really?
functions all day long.
Sure.
In the morning with coffee.
Yeah, which I don't know. I mean,
Right. Not my cup of tea. But
I
it
get
seems-
introspective. I get
Right.
paranoid.
Way too much thinking. Way too much thinking going on.
I don't like it. It's not.
No, I don't need to examine my life that
No.
much.
Oh.
All right, let's talk. Can we talk about some of our friends of the show here?
Let's do that. Let's talk about friends of the program.
Can we talk about? Can we talk about
wanna start with?
Steven a little bit?
Stephen Warner.
Steven, I wonder if
Automoto HR.
Steven's out on the West Coast. Maybe he's listening. I know he listened to our earlier one with Troy.
What a gentleman.
Steven's awesome.
Stephen
We
Warner.
have
You gave me his name.
Yeah.
You actually, there's somebody that I'm trying to get in contact with that he knows that Stephen can get me to that person. So he included us both on a text and not 30
Oh
seconds.
yeah, that's right.
He's on the phone. And, you know, he was gracious enough to give me almost a half hour of his time.
Yeah. Well, that's because he can't. Stephen, you can't have a 5-minute conversation with him.
Okay,
It's
well,
impossible.
I like
He's
my
thorough.
explanation.
Yeah.
But hi, Stephen. I think he's quite a guy.
He's awesome.
He is, and he sent me a real nice text on my birthday and thanking us. I mentioned earlier that we've kind of partnered with him, and he allows us to promote his stuff and to sell his software to our clients who take more of a hands-on DIY approach. And he sent me a real nice text on my birthday. Thanks for letting me be a part of your family, a part of your company. But just someone that you work with and you feel. Troy talked about caring about it and giving a damn.
Yeah.
One of his big things was just giving a damn. And you can feel it when you talk to Steven.
No
I mean,
doubt.
he created this.
Right.
And we talk about the difference between his stuff and some of the other platforms and the other avenues that dealers have out there to recruit. And you spend a month with Steven, which, by the way, it's all month to month. So, it could start with just a month.
Right.
You'll feel it. You'll know it right away. If you're a client of AutoMax's, you come through AutoMax, he'll do the setup.
Yep.
He'll do all the training. He is your customer service rep. You have a direct line into the owner of the company. It's pretty impressive.
It's crazy. This guy,
18, 20-hour days.
at least,
Yeah.
he's a freak, and he's so smart. And the weird thing is he's been in the car business for 20 years or
Car guy,
25 years. You put technology with a real car person,
Vet too,
like a
Chris.
legit car person.
He's a vet too.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. It's just, he's mind blowing. Automotive HR is just, they're the best. You got to try them for the few $100 it costs a month. It's like, it's a no brainer. How did they get a hold of Stephen? What do we got?
AutomotiveHR.com.
.com.
Is pretty much the easiest way. Go
Best
right
way.
to the
You're
website.
going to request a demo right there. You can actually call me too.
Right.
Call my cell phone. I'll give my cell phone out. I don't care. 609-705-8646. Go to our website. We have a link there for demos. I can do a demo with you. Steven can do a demo with you. Either way is fine.
One of the things too, though, is the fact that you said it earlier. He created it. It's his.
Yep.
It's his
Right.
All
knowledge.
proprietary
that's-
information.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you're talking with the person if there's ever a challenge or if you need to know more.
Right.
He knows it all.
Yeah, well, and a couple Silicon Valley geeks,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
yeah. And a lot of money.
Yes, I was going to say.
Right. So, but yeah,
Always helps.
Automotive HR is awesome.
You guys want to talk about Rockstar?
Rockstar.
Yes, sir.
Matt Koenig.
I love talking about Rockstar.
Yeah, Matt's he's good for our industry. Matt is a strange individual. If you have Matt on,
He's coming on.
He'll be on.
you better have him on late at night when the kiddies have gone to sleep.
Oh,
Well,
we talked
right.
about
Go ahead.
this. We have Frank on next week.
Frank
I think we're
Lopes.
just going to
Frank
have to.
Lopes, okay.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to attack it head on and just maybe warn people.
Right.
And I'm going to keep a piece of paper and
Well,
I'm
the chart.
just chart the f-bombs.
F-bomb chart.
You ought to have a little
I know.
jar here for dollar bills every
That's a
time you say
good
the
one.
F.
I was going to come
yeah.
up with a sound effect.
Right. Ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can a little bell. Oh, we got to buy a bell. Got to buy a bell for Lopes.
Okay.
Yeah, Lopes got to have a bell. Okay. Matt, I think
Matt's up there.
Matt definitely is.
Matt seriously offended one of our trainers who will remain nameless. He's probably not listening anyway. At the conference, older gentleman, didn't care for it at all. Took serious offense
really.
to Matt dropping some f-bombs.
Did he?
It's just
And he
it-
held
it's-
back for a while.
Oh yeah,
and
he
really-
does. He's changed. Matt doesn't cuss
And here's
nearly
the
as
thing,
much as
and
he
Frank
used to.
talks about it, swearing with a purpose. It's not like he's
Right.
forcing the words in. It's just when he gets going and you can see the passion coming through, it just starts flying. It's just the way it is.
It's true.
What are you gonna
As I get older, I'm starting to cuss more.
it's got to go in loops. I've gotten better because of the kids. I've had to, and I still suck at it. It's amazing they're not Andrew Dice Clay. I mean, it's
Well.
it's
Oh, gosh.
it's bad. I mean, I and now you got speakerphones in the car, so I'll call Christina. And I'm like, fuck that. She's like, you're on speakerphone.
You'll stop when they start saying it back to you.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all it takes is one
Right.
time. And
Well, you were talking about the Christmas story with Troy in that scene where he's helping his father change the tire and
Right.
loses
Right.
the lug
Right.
nuts. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And the father, where did you learn that?
Yeah.
He says, I've only heard it 20 times a day before
Yeah.
recess.
yeah. What a great movie.
Yeah.
It
So,
was.
but with Matt and what they put together, it's different in the sense. We talked about it's free.
It's free.
You can, and there have been other conferences that have done that, but they're not trying to make money off of the person that's there to learn and gain knowledge.
Exactly right.
They have sponsors that are willingly investing
right.
in the opportunity to be there, share information, press the flesh, so to speak. Not necessarily pitch. It's that's not what the sponsors are doing. The people that are presenting the information, they're there to share information. It's new information. It's
Exactly.
relevant.
Right.
That is helpful to the dealers.
And that's the way it should be. And I
Yes.
think you have to get dealers there, and obviously that's the way to do it, is to make it free, because we talk about all these things, and these are good ideas and things they could adopt. I think it's hard for dealers to see that when you're in it, when you're inside the problem. It's so hard to see it. So you take people from outside who are talking to, hundreds and thousands of dealers over the course of a year. Hey, we're seeing it. I'm just... No shit. I'm not at the store. You're right. I'm not working in a dealership right now, but I am talking to 100 different dealers a week, and here's what I'm hearing, and here's what I'm seeing, and it's a nice way for not everyone has time to sit around on social media for an hour, 2 hours a day. So you get together in a face-to-face format and actually hear what some vendors and what some people within the industry that have good things to say.
One of the interesting things about, and they call it the unconference for a lot of different reasons, but the caliber of the speaker, and not. when I say stuff like that, I'm not degrading any other conference because there's great speakers at all conferences. I've spoken at 100 of them. Yeah. So, did I just say I'm a great speaker? That's not what I meant to say. But what I am saying is this: that they have speakers, some of which outside of the industry, which I think we all need to hear for reasons that we've discussed here today.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You know, it's like they're really smart people. There happens to be a lot of females at this next one in Vegas. What are the dates of that?
May
May 13 and 14.
May 13 and 14 in Las Vegas, Rockstar Unconference. Google it, sign up, and see you there. AutoMax Recruiting happens to be one of the sponsors. And we will be there. We'll have a contingent there, and they put on a real nice affair. Big karaoke night. I think Monday night. I think is karaoke too.
I'm skipping that.
See, the
Yeah,
smart
me too,
dealers would have
but-
started back in January and February with sales contests. I'm going to send you out there,
Yeah.
all expenses trip.
Would
paid.
make sense, right?
Well, and this goes back to, we have burned so many $100 bills in this industry to save dollar bills.
Right.
And but yeah, I mean to just open the doors wide to salespeople, that can't help but help your store when they come back with not only knowledge but what's going on in the world.
Right.
Meeting other people.
Right.
That you might be selling cars in Fredericksburg, Maryland, and you're talking to a guy in Tacoma, Washington, and you realize that you have a lot of common ground.
Right. Pick up something you normally would not hear.
And you're not always going to do that on social media,
No,
to
you're
meet
not.
these people face to face. So
You're not. And social media can get, social media is pretty addicting. So it's a double-edged sword for
I went off of
salespeople right
Facebook
now.
for 2 hours.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I'd handle that running a store today. I really am not. Because we deal with it a lot. Some from what I hear from trainers, some of the stores we go into, they're not allowed to use social.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's what I was
a-
asking.
And I'm not sure, honestly, I'm not sure how to handle it because it would scare me
Yeah, me
because
either.
it's so addicting.
There's
This phone is so flipping addicting.
There's a coach in the NFL, new coach in the NFL, and he's given his guys social media breaks.
Really?
And I thought about it,
It's interesting.
and
thought that
I
was
couldn't
college.
decide,
Is
but I
it- is it a
think
pro
no.
team?
This is it might be Kingsbury. It's somebody new, and because he's trying to tie in to the younger generation, he knows they're going to do it. He knows they're thinking about it. So go take 5 minutes, get it out of your system, come back. And I'm thinking about it, and I was like, I don't think I like it.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I would land because you're right. They're going to be thinking about it. It's going to be there. They're probably going to try and do it anyway, or do it when they go to the bathroom. So do you stay ahead of it, or that's
Yeah,
a good
I don't know.
question. That's a
I
good
think
Guy
the ones
from
that
the
are most
Sixers.
short-sighted are the ones that say you cannot promote yourself as an independent businessman
Yeah, that's
on
messed up.
social media.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, I mean, let them go to town. If you have sales guys and gals that are industrious enough and forward-thinking enough, like a Mike Davenport,
Yeah.
I mean, what Weissman and Elise Kephart did years ago.
Right.
Let them go to town. What's the worst that's going to see? What they're thinking of is worst case scenario. I'm going to fire this guy, and he's still
Right.
going to have access to blah blah blah. He's
Right.
going to motherfuck me.
Well, that happened to Elise.
Yeah.
She got a cease and desist, I believe. I have this story right from her dealership. Can I say her dealership? Yeah, Sunset Honda.
Yep.
When she left there, I mean, they quote unquote took ownership of that part of her YouTube channel, or those. She had to take them down, or I'm probably, Elise, forgive me if I'm totally screwing up this story, but it was like they're gone, and she had hundreds of them. I mean, like lots of time.
She put them on the map.
There's no question about it. It had to kill them when she left there. I would think.
Yeah.
Just kill them. But what are you going to do? But I don't know. Wouldn't it? Didn't the 76ers just get jammed up for
guy who's using it on the bench.
on the
Really?
bench? Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's that. It's like getting a drink of water.
I hate to sound like a broken record. We keep on going back to old school, but in the 80s, salespeople had beepers.
Pagers.
And, the line was, only two types of people use beepers, doctors and drug dealers. And I know you're not a doctor, so put it in your desk.
Right. Well, and going back to social media, one of our other sponsors, Tacoby, has gone completely all in on it.
All in.
And it speaks to everything that we've talked about, and Jason talks about. Jason Gerdner, owner of Tacoby, with his wife Scarlett, and Dan Webb, who's going to be on the show. Just based on what we just talked about.
Yep.
You eat, sleep, and breathe. You're on Facebook all day long.
Yep.
There's no reason that every car dealer in America should not be using Facebook to sell cars.
Yeah.
And that's what he's bought into, and that's what his clients are buying into, and he's killing it, doing a hell of a job.
The proof is in the pudding.
Right.
I mean, he is. You want to talk about transparent? He puts it all out there. His dealers are just knocking the cover off the ball from I don't know if they figured out the Facebook algorithms. I mean, that's impossible, right? They're just
I don't know.
They're just doing everything right.
I said it on the preview.
And the
Jason-
texting
yeah,
is important.
Yeah, and the texting as well. Jason starts talking tech stuff on there and
Yeah.
Yeah,
programming
but
stuff.
he also
Frickin'
says
smart,
it's going to
man.
work if you work it. If you don't work his program.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, that's the thing I've noticed about Tacoby is they seem to Jason will and Dan Webb will. They'll call a dealer out.
Right.
Like, I mean, not socially, not by name, but it's like, hey, here's the process. Follow it. It'll work. If you don't, we don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's like we told you. This is exactly there's right and wrong. Do it right, you'll get the right result. Do it wrong, you're going to get a wrong result, dude.
Right.
So it's your cash, and they're sharp cookies, man. They're sharp guys.
Jason's a trip. He cracks me. He made a post yesterday. It's his birthday. Happy birthday again, Jason.
Happy birthday, Jason.
And his wife bought him a bike.
Yep. You got
So
it.
he's got it parked outside with all his cars. And he says,
Not a bicycle.
no,
Yeah.
a bike.
I know.
Parked outside with all his
My
cars.
neighbors must think we're drug
Neighbors
dealers.
must think we're drug dealers. I laugh and I said, yes, they do. They 100% do.
He's got to have $1 million worth of cars, right? Or it's got to be
Didn't
approaching
he
that.
Do that initially before you even had the $1 million.
He
Wasn't
talked
that
about.
part
He
of
talked.
his-
He's just made a post today talking about.
Oh, he did?
He one of the cars he bought to kind of force himself to motivate himself. He couldn't afford it, and he just bought it, just because I'm gonna do it. So
Hold
That's
yourself
the-
to higher standards.
But that was the
Right, go ahead.
theory of
I know.
hiring people that had tons of debt. You
Right.
know, what's your lifestyle? Well, I have this, and this, and it all added up to being a whole lot of money that you had to produce every single month. But you're hired.
Right. You're right. My first car selling job, they first asked me, they said, you and your wife, where do you live? And I told them, Fulton Road, right? What's your rent? And I said, $75 a month. Oh, well, that's not going to do. That's a problem.
right.
So I said, what do you mean? It's like affordable. It's nice. It's clean. It's in a good neighborhood. Oh, no, man, you need to spend more than that. Matter of fact, your wardrobe's got to change, too. So they took me down to where by Hart, Schaffner, and Marks suits, right? I'm 22 years old, right? It's like, Hart, Schaffner, and Marks. What do you, it was like, and my first Bank America card, credit card. I had no, it's like, do I have to pay this back or what do I do? Like, yeah, they'll send you something in the mail. Just send them a check. Oh, okay. But it was motivation through monthly payments.
Of course.
Right? It's like, go ring up some debt, dude, and you'll figure it out. And
Give you
damn it,
reason
they
to
weren't
sell
right.
in the morning.
It was like, your mom and I started buying, nicer cars, nicer homes. It's like, work more hours, make more money. But that's kind of how the whole thing, kind of happened.
Right. And then our previous guest earlier today, Troy Spring in Dealer World, who spoke in depth about being a performance agency. And I know Troy has really driven that home with me and Ernie. I mentioned, we see what Troy's doing, and we certainly want to bring that. We hear one of two things when we're making our sales calls. It's either, yeah, we're doing great, I need more people, or, we're doing okay, I'm good for now. Okay, well, could you sell a few more cars? Sure. It leads into a conversation about what Troy does.
Yep.
But as he said, he doesn't want to be known as an advertising agency. It's an all-encompassing performance agency. He certainly handles the advertising spend and things of that nature, but it goes way beyond that.
That's what makes it a little more difficult for us to present it.
Yeah, and I told him that's what's
to
it's
dealers.
challenging.
You
I
can't
have
say
does.
precisely this is what he does.
it's tough.
Right.
Including he'll help
Well-
with the training of the personnel.
Right,
and
which is very strange.
radio, TV. It's not just one dimensional, not just the CRM. I mean,
Right.
it's
That all comes from Troy's background in actually running stores, because a lot of these guys have not, you
And
know,
that-
because you could come up with a company like yours without having been in the car business. I mean, that's possible.
It's possible.
Right. What adds meat to it is you have vast experience at executive level of the car business, and be able to bring that and understand and know both sides of it, and being a veteran as well.
Right.
It's a great marriage for you.
Well, there's an
so-
awful lot of vendors out there in our business.
Yeah, lots.
And you know who is the worst with it is the OEMs.
Right.
You know, they make rules, live or die rules for their franchise dealers.
Yeah.
And those rules are coming from people that have never taken it up to
Correct.
put food on their families' tables.
Yeah.
So, you know, the most successful guys in our industry are guys that can say, okay, I am sensitive to what your challenges are. I am not going to give you unrealistic expectations of what my product or service is going to do, but you also have to understand that my product or service is only going to work if you and your people buy into it within the limited scope of expectations that I'm putting forward to you, because
Yeah.
I get how crazy
Yeah.
your day can be.
Right.
Right. Well, and I think we spoke about that with Troy, and that's where he really falls through on what he puts out up front. Is he's going to roll his sleeves up, come to the store, and handle what needs to be handled, listen to all the questions, concerns, and address each one of them one at a time. And that's where it's a true performance agency.
Right.
It's just, it is easier to at least get a listen and get a lead as advertising agency.
Right.
It's hard.
It
People
is.
don't know what the hell a performance agency is. Like, what are you
Right.
talking about? You know what it reminds me of when clients of ours want to put product specialist in an ad or something like that. I'm like, guys, what the hell's a product specialist?
Right.
You could call them a high-flying super freak ninja at the store. I don't give a shit. But when I make this ad, it's going to be sales representative or sales associate.
Because those are the words at work.
That's what people search.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But yeah, I know it's a pleasure having Troy on, and Dealer World, definitely check him out.
Yeah, for sure. And it's mydealerworld.com. Right?
mydealerworld.com.
Right.
MyDealerWorld.
That's interesting. Vendors, the world of vendors, I don't know. Again, if I was running a store today, I think I would blow my brains out. I don't know how you keep vendors away from you. There are so many.
Yeah, I have to remind myself constantly that the volume of calls and emails and the onslaught that these guys receive on a daily basis.
You go to NADA, Digital Deal, any trade show, any conference at all, it's they're lined up, and it's like there's 1,000, 10,000 more behind them. It's just, I don't know what I would do. I really don't know. And we get pissed off when we get quote unquote ghosted by a dealer, right? And there's no, I'm going to get pissed tomorrow when it happens.
Yeah.
We can talk about it all the time. We can understand it all we want, but if I'm sitting there, it's like, I ain't calling you back, man, until I have to have you.
And, and a lot of times
true.
it is just too busy. It's funny.
Right,
We'll make excuses. You beat yourself up. Why did I lose this guy? Why did I lose this guy?
Yep.
We've had 6 month, 9 month
Later?
follow-ups.
Oh, sure.
I mean, where I've flat up given up, and I know you're never supposed to give up on a lead, but it's like, look, I can't keep calling this guy and getting his full voicemail, by the way, which is completely full, for obvious reasons.
Yep.
So 5 months later, hey, this is Mike. Who?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I never got back to you. I'm ready. We're ready now. I'm scrolling through my notes as fast as I can, pretending I know who it is, writing it down, going to the CRM. That was 8 months ago, dude.
Right.
Hey, Mike, how's the wife?
How
Not
often
married.
it is? Am I exaggerating, Ernie? It's once a week, Mike. Well, maybe not. I mean, you put a deal together for the last 18 years, once a week that you've been working for
Months.
9 months or a
months,
year.
months,
I mean,
months.
it's like
Yeah.
once a week.
Yeah.
Nature of the business.
Right, buy it till they die. I mean, there's no other way for a vendor to operate.
Yeah.
We now I think we do. You know what's weird though, or what I found weird, is that we've talked about not calling dealers at the end of the month, right? Because we've heard it, dude. It's
They
the end
get
of the month,
offended.
right? They get offended. So, but I've noticed I get a lot of leads at the end of the month. They start.
We always do.
Yeah, they hit me up on
always
LinkedIn, Facebook, and so forth.
Well, we
They don't
we
mind.
talked about this the other day. You know, they're 14 cars away from their trunk money. I need
Yeah.
some people. I need some bodies.
Right.
Feeling
Yeah,
the
or
pain.
they're dissatisfied with the result that they're having,
Right.
or realize that the
Right.
rubber hit the road where you talked about there's not enough staff to cover the volume of customers,
Right.
that kind of thing. But at the
Right.
end of the month, that last week transitioning to the first,
Right.
tend to be some of the busiest incoming calls out for help.
I know.
And
that's
Still doesn't
strange,
take our
right?
call.
Still, I
if
was
we're
going to say
calling them.
they
They
still don't
won't.
take the incoming.
No,
Right.
it
That's
won't
where
take ours.
text messaging and
Yeah.
stuff comes in. But
Exactly
it's
right.
frustrating,
Yeah.
and this is something I'm envious of Troy and of yourself and a few other vendors out there that I know that get to do face to faces, or even our trainers for that matter get to do face to face prospecting. It's hard to be 100% solely reliant on a phone call and an email to close a deal, and
Right.
it's just
Yes,
them
it is.
getting them on the phone call. It's like if I have 2 good conversations in a day, I feel pretty good about it. And if I have 2
Yeah.
good conversations in a day, I know they're going to go well, and I know
Yep.
there's a good chance I'm going to close both of them.
Right.
But it's just getting them on the damn phone.
Yep.
When you know if you're face to face and you're selling something that has value to them, you could get a 5-minute conversation with
Right.
them in the store pretty easily. I mean,
Right.
they might be annoyed,
Right.
but once you started talking, and our trainers have mentioned that to us, it'll be, fuck off, I don't have time for this.
Right.
Okay, well, I thought you might need some salespeople. Wait, what?
Right.
You got salespeople? What do you
Right,
got?
right.
And then the conversation starts, and then they'll
Right.
talk to you.
Well, how about in texting? How about I sent our guy in Houston that text I included you in the other day? I mean, that was a pretty strong text.
Right.
It's like, I came just short of saying, get off your wallet. We'll just,
Right.
let's go. Come on.
Right.
You called us. Let's
Right.
stop
and it goes right to their ear. So texting is improving.
Right.
And the problem is not all dealers want to be texted. So now you're risking
Right.
annoying people and they
Right.
don't want you right in their phone. But
Yeah. Well, I still think as a vendor, a good rule of thumb is to not bombard them with phone calls at the end of the month. I would lose my mind. You would lose me as a
Well,
customer.
because they can always fall back on the tried and true. Oh, so you think you're going to help my business, and you don't
Right.
realize how busy I am on
Right,
this
right.
day?
Yeah, what
then
kind
you
of idiot
obviously
are
are
you?
not a car guy,
Right.
You know,
Right. Right. And there's little understanding. And that guy could get into the vendor world tomorrow, and guess what he would be doing at the end of the month?
same thing. Right.
Calling dealers to get, because, we have an end of the month too.
We have ours is the end of the week.
Right,
We-
right.
We run cyclically as a week, like vendors do, and it's more like Wednesday, Thursday. So we put on our Wednesday, Thursday crunch, and I'll start calling, Wednesday. We got to do this.
Right.
Well, why?
Right.
Because I got to get another deal in for next week. What do you mean why? Because I got to hit 30 this week. So it trickles down. Everybody feels it.
No
It's the
question.
nature of the industry.
Right. Yeah. We just have to have a better understanding of each other, I suppose.
Well, and that's what I think the conferences are great for, and I'm glad Matt's doing what he's doing because that's really, it's funny, it seems all hostile a little bit,
Yeah.
talking over the phone, and it's combative, and everyone feels like they're being taken advantage of. And then you get face to face with these guys, like, this is just a dude.
Exactly
Right.
right.
This is just a dude.
Yeah. Yes. That's exactly right.
Well, I've told you the story about the Staples signs, the no soliciting signs.
Oh.
Probably my second year of being a general manager, I'm tired of vendors. I'm tired of cold calling. Chris is a guy out here who wants to see you. Chris. So I go across the street to Staples and I buy those little black and gold brass metal no soliciting signs. I put them up all over every door in the dealership. And the old man's home from vacation. He's in the dealership one of his 5 weeks out of the year. And he used to just park his fat ass in the showroom and he'd talk to customers. Hello, how are you? And try to, and we used to say, oh, please get him out of the showroom. He's blowing. Lovely man. I loved him to death. So he's sitting in the showroom. I get in. It's about 8:30 in the morning. Hey, Mr. Newman, how are you? Hello, darling. It's good to see you. He gets up and he waddles into my office. We talk for about 10 minutes. And he goes, let me ask you a question. Who put these little metallic no soliciting signs on all the doors? I said, I did. He said, why did you do that? I said, I'm tired of cold calling vendors, And he was a great one for the mood just going dark. He'd have a big smile on his face, and then the eyes would turn homicidal. And he says, the last I looked, that sign said Newman Chevrolet, not Walsh Chevrolet. And he had the dark visage. And he said, you look around this dealership and you show me one thing that somebody didn't sell us. You look at one product that a vendor didn't provide us. He said, these people are trying to put food on their family's table just like we are. You will talk to everybody.
Gee whiz.
I want those signs down right now.
That's pretty cool.
All right, I'll get Abdul to. No, you won't. Abdul was one of our lot guys. He said, you will take them down, and I want all the other employees in this dealership to see you personally taking them down.
Interesting.
This was old school.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
I learned a lesson.
I try to be sensitive to calls, and I mean, it reminds me of the scene in a Boiler Room where Giovanni Ribisi gets the call from the person pitching the magazines. You seen Boiler Room?
Oh, yeah.
It's a phenomenal
yeah.
scene, right? So the
That's
guy goes
right.
through his pitch, and it's horrible.
Right.
And he
helps.
stops him mid-pitch,
Right.
has him start over,
Yep.
lets him practice on him, gets to the end. So you going to buy? Fuck no, I'm not buying any magazines from you.
That's right. It's a great scene. Man.
But so I'm not, I'm not that cool.
Right.
But I try to at least show an active interest
Yeah.
in whoever calls. You never know. You never know.
Say no
heck,
to
we-
'em.
Don't.
we,
Say no.
we stumbled upon Automotive HR. Really, that was you, right?
Right. Well, I saw that because I was trying to close a deal, and I was going through internet and just looking for stuff, and then I saw them advertising
Right.
on that. I'm like, what is this?
Right.
So it was kind of that's
So you
how I
never
found
know.
it.
You never
God.
know.
It's a little
Thank
bit, yeah,
God.
right.
It's like that cartoon of the king coming out of his tent, and all the warriors, all the knights are on their horses with spears and shields, and his page is standing in front of him, and there's a guy behind him with a machine gun. And the caption is the king saying to his page, I don't have time to talk to a damn salesman. I've got a war to fight. And here's the salesman with a machine gun, and they're going into battle with spears. So
Right.
you never know what the next guy has for you.
Right.
Let me ask you, Joe. How about all the email of vendors of other types? What do you do?
Yeah.
with those?
Well, it's
Do you read those, or do you
no,
just?
and that's a real problem for
I
us,
just
and that's
delete.
I do too, and
Mostly.
you're better at it. You'll forward them to me and ask me to
Some.
research some that look like they're worthwhile, and we've
Right.
actually stumbled into a few calls.
Right.
I'll say this: you gotta personalize it, and I know there's always a big debate. Email's completely dead. Email's semi-dead. We still use email marketing.
Yep.
I
Works.
know everyone. It's text. You got to personalize, regardless of which one it is. If I get something personalized, I just had a gentleman recently reach out that wanted to work with us, another marketing company. Didn't work out, but I gave him some time. We talked for a little bit. We've had another gentleman here in the Philly area, just an email. Just,
Right.
hey, but it's got to seem real.
Right.
Hey, I saw you on social media. I saw this, and it's got to be.
Right.
You got to identify yourself as a real person in some way before you send it out or as you send it out.
Correct.
But that's a good question. I do delete most of them.
Yeah, the art of the subject line is a cottage industry.
It's very important.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, it's in our process, that and the what's that other line called? Forget what.
The tagline?
Yeah, the tagline. That's what's getting those things open at the rate we're getting an open rate. It's pretty high.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna. It's 3 hours.
I know.
Yeah,
Over 3 hours.
yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I didn't even get to tell you my celebrity or my pork tenderloin story, you bastard.
Yeah. What?
This has been great.
This has been awesome.
I'm
man.
very proud that you asked me to come down.
We appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. How do people get? So, I know enough about your business to know that, quite literally, not everyone gets to be a VetsCars dealer.
Right.
I mean, I know that is a legit fact. It's not a pitch or a marketing campaign. It's true. If you don't approve them,
Right.
it's doesn't the money don't matter.
Don't need the money that bad.
Right.
When I recommend a dealership to a brother or sister veteran or a first responder, I got to know that individual is committed, himself and his team, to an experience that is a reflection of their gratitude for service.
That's a right way to run a business, dude.
It is.
Yeah, I'm real proud to know you, and I'm really proud of what you do. It's
Appreciate
so helpful. It's
It is. And it sells cars. If you do it the right way and do what I tell you to do,
Right.
you will become known in your area
Right.
as a vet and law enforcement friendly.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure, it's first responders and law enforcement as well. You did that
Right.
thing at the conference where you had everybody raise their hand who either had a direct relative
Yeah,
or
crazy.
someone in their family that was military, first responder, or law enforcement, and
Right.
it was 99% of the room.
yes,
It's
Yep.
crazy.
Right. Yeah, that
And
was
I
interesting.
have no military experience. We don't have a big military history in our family, and
Right.
it's like all around me,
Right.
24/7.
That's right. Well, now where you live too.
Yeah, that too. But I mean,
you're right
you
by
know,
the base.
best friends. I mean, it's everywhere.
Well, when we introduce this to a new dealer, we say, first thing I'm going to do is disabuse you that we're just going to get you leads. And you already got that.
Right.
Here's the 5 things we're going to do for you. Our website, your showroom, your BDC and sales training. Let us create within your dealership an awareness on the part of your customers that for you it's more than just getting another car out of the curb. You care. And in all the years I've run this, I've heard of one person that took issue with why would you do something for the military that you wouldn't do for everybody. Once I've heard that.
Wow.
And she was saying that to a 4-tour Iraq and Afghanistan Marine who was the dealer's son, and he threw her out of the dealership.
Yeah.
So when people see it on your website and they read the landing page and they read what you've committed to and they see it in your showroom, they see that wall of honor with 30, 40, 60 names, tell me more about this program. Well, we're very proud that Mr. Lockhart got the dealership involved in this. Everybody's going to feel good about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're proud of what we're doing. We're getting much more digital. Our Facebook campaigns have a phenomenal success rate.
Yeah. Well, your website is it's really sharp.
What is
and
the
it's
website?
keyworded like crazy. Yeah.
VetsCars.com.
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 And would that be the best way for people to get a hold of you that'd be interested in talking about having VetsCars in their store?
We have a dealer contact page right on the website, or very simply, C. Walsh at VetsCars.com.
All right. And you're on social. You're on Instagram, VetsCars, and Facebook, of course.
And I've dramatically minimized my political posts.
Yes.
It's PD, food, or military.
Right.
Yeah.
Petey's a cool dog.
PD's.
Listen, dude, thanks so much for
Oh,
coming
man,
in. Going to
thanks,
do it
guys.
again.
You guys.
All right.
It's a pleasure,
Thanks.
sir.
Our pleasure.
All right, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thanks out there in podcast land. See y'all.
Peace.
Peace out.
Thanks again, guys.